campaign says he's been unfairly attacked. High winds are back in Southern California, but firefighters are making progress over some of the biggest wildfires around L.A. The Eden fire is now 35% contained. This is ABC News. Drugs and rats not getting a good mix in Houston, and those rats are getting drugged up at a police evidence lockup.
No one's sure how long rats have been eating narcotics, including marijuana and psychedelic mushrooms, at the Houston Forensic Science Center, whose director, Peter Stout, says getting a handle on the infestation is a challenge.
I mean, think about it. They're drug-addicted rats. They're tough to deal with.
The DA thinks that only one active criminal case might be affected.
That's ABC's Jim Ryan. Federal oversight of the police department in New Orleans can start winding down. That ruling today from a federal judge in New Orleans, and the police department has been under a federal oversight plan for more than a decade after an investigation found evidence of misconduct and racial bias. Britain's Princess Kate returning today to the hospital where she has been treated after her cancer diagnosis last year. She is meeting with doctors and patients at Royal Marsden Hospital, telling one patient there is a light at the end of the tunnel. I'm Sherry Preston, ABC News.
I wasn't prepared to be a caregiver to Mom, but a little over a year ago, we realized she couldn't take care of herself without our help. And well, how could I not be there for her? I had no idea how hard it would be, and just what I would need to know. Things I never thought of, like how to improve her mood, and even for me, ways to stay positive. Luckily, I found the Caregiving Resource Center from AARP. It had articles about the basics that got me started, but also information about the hurdles I was facing in this new role. I could even connect with experts and hear from others who had been in my place. I know this road we're on isn't an easy one, but I'm really happy to have the extra help for her and for me. Caregiving Resource Center at aarp.org/caregiving. Articles, tips, and tools to help you both care for your loved one and care for yourself. This message is brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
K-How News Time, 10:03.
The Denver City Council has approved removing the cap on the number of needle exchange sites. In addition to removing the limit of 3 needle exchange sites, the ordinance that passed on an 8-5 vote also removes the 1,000-foot buffer between schools and needle exchanges. That was the biggest concern among those who opposed the measure. Councilmember Sarah Parody says the locations won't have an impact on surrounding areas and was a yes vote.
These are highly, highly regulated entities, which is part of why, if you visit them and you interact with them, they run such clean operations.
Mayor Mike Johnston has 5 days to either sign or veto the ordinance. Deion Sanders is talking with the Cowboys about that team's head coaching opening after the team announced it's moving on from head coach Mike McCarthy. Talks between the Cowboys and Sanders are reportedly continuing. The University of Colorado coach told ESPN that the possibility of coaching the Cowboys is intriguing, but that he loves Boulder and everything associated with the team and the community. That's the latest. I'm Chad Bauer.
Now, Impact Traffic.
This report is sponsored by Jack in the Box.
Now, a big accident we had late in the rush hour southbound in Hampton. Looks like the lanes are finally open. We're still tied up back to about Downing. Still running a little rough in there with stop and go. As you open up, or at least get past that, it will open up into the tech center. 225, a little slow if you're coming through Aurora, mainly southbound. 270 east coming off I-76 has been a little slow. Still clearing up an accident down on Parker Road. This is northbound in Hampton. Backups remain right at about Quincy. With traffic, I'm Jonathan Steele.
Don't like to be told what to eat and when? Introducing the $5 all-day big deal at Jack in the Box. No matter the hour, you get to choose from 4 entrees and 5 tasty sides, plus a drink. So, do you get a burger, fry, and hash brown on the AM? At Jack, every bite big deal.
Do you think all real estate brokers are created equally? Ha! Think again.
Different than many other teams, as a master certified negotiation expert, I personally negotiate your home sale when you list your home with me.
That's Frank Duran, the realestateman.com.
I get your home sold faster. I put more money in your pocket, and I back you up with a true written performance guarantee.
Frank Duran, therealestateman.com, 303-920-1622 with RE/MAX Alliance.
Give me the opportunity, and you'll be glad you did.
The new year means new health goals, not just for your body, but your finances too. Your personal info is in so many places that are outside of your control. It only takes one mistake, and not even your mistake, to expose you to identity theft and lost funds. If your identity's stolen, LifeLock's restoration specialist will fix it, guaranteed, or your subscription money back, and resolve to make identity, health, and wealth part of your New Year's goals with LifeLock. Visit LifeLock.com and save up to 40% off your first year with promo code CLAY. Terms apply.
Hurt in a car crash? Get John Fuller on your side. Call Fuller.com.
When he's not talking about it, he's tweeting about it.
See you Twitter?
Follow the Troubleshooter at Real Tom Martino. And stay connected with all of Denver's talk station on Twitter.
Just give me your Twitter and I'll follow you.
Find us right now at 630 KHOW. Denver's talk station has your chance to win $1,000. Just enter this nationwide keyword on our website. Bonus. That's bonus. Enter it now at KHOW.com. Keep listening to win on 630 KHOW.
Ripped off, bad news. You need advice so you don't have to lose. We'll come running just as fast as we can. Troubleshooter's gonna help with common man.
This is the Troubleshooter Show. Now, Tom Martino.
Welcome, my friends, to the only show of its kind. We're here to solve problems, answer questions. Our goal is to make your life just a little bit better. In fact, to the tune of over $300 million in cash, merchandise, exchanges, and refunds directly due to this show. You got a problem with a contractor, a problem with a landlord, a problem with an attorney, a problem with a dentist. We really don't care what it is. We want to help you either recoup money or try to at least get the problem solved. We've got a list of experts at referrallist.com that help in this task. We call them up as experts. We have them in studio. In fact, today in studio with me, we have a referral list member of a long time now, attorney Dan McKenzie. In fact, I love your phone number, Dan. First of all, how are you doing this morning, man?
I'm good. How are you?
I am doing good, sir. I love your phone number, 833-CO Plans. How long have you had that?
A couple of years, I think.
Yeah, that's it. That was incredible you got that.
Yeah.
I guess after they opened up 800 and 888 to a lot of other toll-frees, things started coming along and a lot of people could grab stuff like that.
Yeah.
Hey, so when we talk about what you do for a living, we're talking probate, we're talking wills, trusts. What is the most you do? Meaning, what is your average call? I might have asked you this before, but what is your typical job? Someone calls you up. Is it a couple that just had kids? Is it someone in their late 60s? Is it all of the above? But you still must have, the top of the line. But hold on, I want you to digest that real quick.
Okay.
But 303-713-8255. Anybody out there with any issues, don't forget 303 Martino. We have open lines right now. I will always tell people when we have open lines. 303 Martino. Any issues you have, 303-713-8255. Also, we have got Deputy Dimitri. I always say Deputy Scott, but Deputy Dollar. I appreciate you guys being in. Of course, Kelly, Suzanne's with us today. Shannon behind the board, 303 Martino. So, Dan, what is your average call?
I would say probably in addition to the family, so if people have had a baby, or it's funny, people who have gone on trips recently or about to go on a trip, they start to think about, what happens if the
airplane
doesn't work out.
Boy, that is kind of funny, actually.
Yeah.
I have thought that. In fact, Suzanne and I have definitely done that. We've been married over 31 years, and almost every time we go on at least a long trip, you start going, okay, is everything in order?
Yeah.
What do you think of people that make a list of everything? Forget about, let's say they do have a will, but you still have to know where money's at. I've always wondered this, like, if you had a bank account somewhere that was in a different state, then you moved and you kind of forgot you had it, how would anybody ever find that?
Yeah.
Does that happen quite a bit?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, you're familiar with the, what is it, the great property thing at Colorado? Like the
great Colorado payback.
Yeah. I mean, that's just tons and tons of lost insurance policies and bank accounts and refunds from Comcast and everything else. So, yes, it happens all the time. There's not really a centralized location for it. It does take a bit of detective work sometimes. You're looking at credit card bills and saying like, okay, I see they have this recurring charge. Where is this money coming from to pay this? So you can be in that. So people who make the lists, I mean, that, we can put together the will and the trust, but it's like if you don't tell people where stuff is, that's the other side of the coin, and it can be still really a big mess.
Yeah, I was thinking of all the different accounts I have just with Schwab. Yeah. I mean, I've probably got like literally 7 to 10 accounts with Schwab. Mm-hmm. And I finally went over and listed them all out when the Ameritrade turned into Schwab, because I didn't have them when they were Ameritrade accounts. And I started thinking, geez, if Suzanne and I met our demise on a trip or something, our kids know we have Schwab accounts, but where do they even start on that? Yeah. Then they might find one and not even know about the rest. And some of them are LLCs. They're not even attached to our Social Security number.
Right. Yeah.
So, I mean, there's probably a lot of money out there. When people lose their parents and call you and they need help with probate, is that part of your services? Do you actually do some of that detective work?
I mean, maybe a little bit, but there are companies that is what they do. They go out and, it's a private investigator, actually. So you think of a private investigator
like a forensic accountant.
Yeah, they have, access to databases of people and stuff like that they can use to try and find this stuff.
So when people have kids, though, they come to you big time.
Yeah, that is a frequent source of people thinking about this.
And the biggest thing is who's going to take care of the kids.
Right.
And generally speaking, is it their parents when it's a younger couple?
Yeah, it usually starts with the parents, and then they come back about 10 years later and say, okay, these parents are a little bit older now and not really able to keep up with a 10-year-old, so let's move it to someone else.
That's exactly what happened to us. And then eventually they become over 18 or they get out of college, depending on the path they took, and now you have to go back and redo everything as well, or at least you should go back and revisit your will or trust.
I mean, I tell people when we're planning for little kids, like, hopefully this is a huge waste of money. I mean, we don't want this plan to be the plan that you die with, right? I mean, it should be evolving over time as your kids get older and you get older and the bank accounts change and you move and all that kind of stuff. I mean, keep going, all right? So you got to keep it up to date.
Yeah, you have to keep it up to date. Now, let's talk real quick on trusts. One of the benefits of a trust is most likely you won't have to go to probate, right? That's only if everything was split in the trust.
That is the goal.
So can you actually have like a one-liner that says anything I forgot to have in the trust automatically goes in the trust on my death?
So you still have a will, and the will says that.
So really you can't miss anything. You would. Give me an idea of when you wouldn't go around probate not putting something in the trust, or if it's done right, you simply would not have to go through probate.
So, as we discussed before, it's like, usually there are some things left outside the trust. We usually do not put cars in trust, for example.
Yep. Explain to people, why is that? Why don't you put, because it's titled?
The insurance companies don't like having them titled to things that are not people. They want to track your driving record, and I think that makes it harder if it's not titled to you. And then this is a little bit silly, but just practically speaking, if you get into an accident with somebody and pull out your registration to share that information with them and it says trust on it,
they think you're rich as hell.
Yeah, you're a really rich person, and that's, of course, not always the case.
Yeah, that's a fallacy, but that's kind of funny that someone would think that. I guess that's just how it goes.
Yeah.
So what else wouldn't you put into a trust? Bank accounts.
I mean, a lot of people leave their day-to-day checking accounts out. It's just like you got to go through and figure out, okay, I need less than $82,000 in my name, because that is the point at which you do have to do a probate.
Because, or if it's property.
Right. Real estate,
at least in Colorado.
$82,000.
So, but even if it's a parcel of land that's vacant, it's only worth a couple grand.
Yeah, you can have mineral interests that are producing, a $20 check once a year. And that's real estate. So you got to go through probate.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. But anything else, if I think I learned this from you, you could do a small, not a death affidavit.
Yeah, small estate affidavit.
Small estate affidavit. So even like on a vehicle.
Correct. And the Colorado DMV has its own version of that form.
And how do you handle bank accounts? I had a very lengthy conversation with you about bank accounts. And when you have a bank account, you can just leave a beneficiary.
You can. Mm-hmm.
Can you leave multiple? Most banks you can.
Yeah, like in order of preference?
Yeah, like in a chain.
Correct.
And why do that instead of put it into a trust? I would say because it's a pain in the ass. You got to order new checks. Yeah. You got to do a lot of things, right?
So, yeah, I mean, ideally, everything's in the trust if you have a trust. But to your point, I mean, sometimes it's just a pain.
Well, generally, when you do a trust for somebody, do you have them put the bank accounts into the trust?
I would say most of my clients do not do that.
Do not. How about like if they own a partial interest in an LLC or a company?
Yeah,
anything besides something like a C Corp.
Typically, we would assign that interest to the LLC. You can make sure that your operating agreement allows it. But yes, that is typically part.
And that's where it gets crazy. I'm going through that right now. In fact, Tom and I are both going through that right now because we did an operating agreement on a couple things, neither of us thinking of, putting it into a trust. So now we have to kind of redo the operating agreement in order to get to where we want to be. I mean, that's kind of crazy. Does that happen a lot?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, most people don't have operating agreements. They set up the LLC and they don't do it. So there's nothing.
Dimitri, you own a business. Have you thought about this? So in other words, one of ours, we just took a boilerplate years ago, and we have a company called Leadbin. And Leadbin does some digital advertising. It does fairly well. So the problem with the operating agreement, if I die, it goes to Suzanne. But pretty much anybody outside of Suzanne is where the issue comes in. I don't even think we talk about our kids in that. And then the other thing that becomes a problem is, let's say I don't want to be partners. This is probably the biggest part.
Oh, yeah.
What happens if I don't want to be partners with his wife? And I'm just using this as an example.
Yep.
In other words, let's pretend it was his ex-wife. We don't like each other at all. I can't even imagine if I had to deal with that in a million years. So, I would think she might try to throw monkey wrenches at me.
Yeah.
So what do you do in a situation like that if you didn't look at it prior? I mean, really, Dan, this must come up.
Oh, it does. Yeah, people end up being business partners with people they did not pick.
Yeah, and they're forced to do so.
Yeah.
Guys, isn't there some insurance policy that the
Key-Man
survivor can buy to buy out the unwanted business partner in case their primary partner dies?
Yeah, but if they haven't done the operating agreement, they're not doing that.
Yeah, if it's not in the operating agreement, it's not there,
I
right?
think they would do the operating agreement before buying the insurance policy.
Yeah,
if they're sophisticated enough to buy an insurance policy, they're probably going to do it.
But there's problems that come with that, Dimitri. I mean, just age in general. So, I mean, you have a partner that's in his 70s or 80s getting in Key-Man insurance. It's just like it's life insurance. That's all it is. Think of how hard that is and how unfair that might be to the other person. Let's say my insurance, in an example, you and I are partners. My insurance is $2,000 a year. Your insurance is $20,000 a year. How is that fair of me to have to pick that up? Even though I'm truly the beneficiary of it, it's still a lot of money. I mean, how is that typically handled, Dan? I mean, you must have gotten into these situations.
Yeah, I mean, so having the cash available is helpful, but yeah, there's different ways to set it up. It could be a direct payment to the estate. It could be, usually it's an injection into the company, and then the company buys the shares of the person who passed away.
God, it's complicated, and there's a lot of people out there right now that have partners that have never thought of this stuff.
Oh, yeah. I think most haven't.
I think most haven't either. I'm literally looking at stuff, and, we've been going through our trust. Here's the problem with the trust, honestly. It's a pain in the ass, man. I mean, honestly, it's a pain in the ass. The kind of stuff that's the pain in the ass where we're at is stuff like this, these operating agreements. Then you go, oh, man, we never even thought of this when we did the operating agreement. Now we got to go back and redo this operating agreement, get that done. Then we can determine what's going to happen if one of us dies. I mean, it's kind of nuts, man. It is.
It is the price of success.
I guess so.
Congratulations.
Yeah. 303-713-8255. We've got lines open. I want to hear from you. I got to take this break. Shannon's shaking his fist like an old man with kids on the lawn.
You're about on time.
Become the banker. Okay, I don't need that one. K&H. Yeah, you were, what was that called? Who was the CNN guy? Yes. KH. Elizabeth Warren. Boy, I wish I could hear this one. KH Home Solutions now featuring Alpine windows. These are the most beautiful, energy-efficient windows I think I've seen. By the way, they're made right here in Colorado for homes in Colorado. Of course, they ship anywhere. And KH Home Solutions, they're one of the best at the installation process and the pricing with these guys. An authorized dealer of Alpine windows. These guys, KH Home Solutions, have also been around for 68 years. It was started by Henry back in 1956. Right now, Lee Diamond is at the helm. He is the CEO. I want you to give him a call if you're looking at windows, if you're looking at siding. They have everything, but make sure you get a bid from them. You're going to love the company. 303-421-7100 or khwindows.com. Man, has it been cold. I look at that temp when we wake up. Under 20 degrees. It's about to get super, and I mean super cold over the weekend. We could see stuff in the negatives right here in Denver. If you have any issue with your furnace going on right now, you need to call 888-HEATING now. Call them, get them out there before this cold comes this weekend. It's going to be bone chilling. 888-HEATING.com. Great, honest people. They'll always give you different options, an option to repair, an option to replace, whatever you need. They're good people. 888-HEATING.com. My Way, MyMoneyMyWay.com. Joe and Jordan, they want to sit down and talk to you about retirement. They want to tell you about what they refer to as the paycheck for life. It's an annuity product that you don't have to worry on that cash flow when you retire and decide to turn it on, because you're going to get a guaranteed payment every month till the day you die. Very similar to Social Security. Check them out at MyMoneyMyWay.com. God, please, it's hot.
Michael always turns it up.
He's got it on max, doesn't he?
It was on +4.
What's the highest it goes?
+4.
Yeah, okay.
So,
Zero. That'll give us a baseline.
Yeah.
No, it's hot, man. My car wouldn't. It wasn't that warm this morning. The Tesla's weird, man. When it gets pretty cold and you're on the highway doing whatever, 80, you got to jack it up more than usual. The temp.
The heater.
The heater.
Okay. That's interesting.
Yeah. The new upgrade on it, I haven't done it yet, but I was reading the notes because we just updated it. You can, get out at the front and then pick a place for it to go park.
Really?
Yeah, so I gotta try that. I've never tried it. Honestly, I have never successfully tried it coming to me either. I've had every intention of doing it, but I forget to do it. So
That's so cool.
I'll come out of a restaurant and go, okay, but I already walked to the car, so.
So, do you have to pay for the self-parking?
$100 a month. Well, no, it's for the whole autonomous.
Oh, so
it's truly not autonomous.
Forever, for all of the updates.
Oh, hell no. It's $100 a month.
Just for self-parking?
No, for any of the self-driving capabilities. Yeah. Or you can buy it, but I've done the math. Buying it's a total ripoff. I would not buy it. Buying it is I forget how much it was when I was looking at it, but maybe $10,000. That's 12 years of $100. Yeah. Totally. And I'd never keep the vehicle that long. But when you sell it, it brings value because they get it.
How does it know where the parking spot is?
It knows where it is all the time. GPS. How do you put this? You look on the map and then pick one on the map.
In that side parking lot.
In the parking lot.
And it will go there.
Yeah, but once again, I haven't done it.
Well, yeah, I don't blame you.
If it doesn't see the spot, I don't know how it works.
Yeah, what the hell is it going to do if there's a box laying in that spot?
I would hope it stops. You're still responsible if you hit something.
Yeah, it stops, but then what? It can't just leave itself parked in the driveway.
Well, you tell it where to go.
Yeah, so let's say it gets to the parking spot.
And there's a box.
And you went to work.
I would say,
a scooter.
First of all, it doesn't work that way because you've got to be in a certain distance to do it. You're supposed to be able to visually see it.
Oh, okay.
On the app, you can stop it. Okay. You can, literally stop the car. All right, 303-713-8255. We do have lines open. You've been ripped off or taken advantage of. I want to hear from you. Any comment you have? By the way, I was somewhat listening to one of the confirmations hearings. I kind of forgot how confrontational they are. It's kind of crazy, man. I mean, very, very political, like everything in the world. But it goes from he's the best guy to he's the worst guy. He's the best guy to he's the worst guy. And I guess that's what we're going to be up against for the next X amount of month. Every time we have a new cabinet come in, I guess that's how it happens. I think the worst I remember was Kavanaugh, I guess, would be pretty bad. That was 6-7 years ago. But all these confirmations are just heated.
Well, this one was already disrupted this morning. Did you see the protesters?
I did not.
There was some guy, some weirdo in a pink suit and some lady that accompanied him. They stood up and started screaming.
In a pink suit?
Yeah, in a pink suit. And I couldn't tell what they were screaming, right?
Yeah.
But you could tell, and everybody just kind of stopped talking, and 3 or 4 cops came over and got those people out of the audience, and they went on.
I'm going up for the, I'm going up this weekend.
Wow.
To Washington.
Jeez.
Yeah, I think, isn't Ryan going too, Kelly? Did he get tickets? Is he going in?
A press pass. He's actually going as a member of KOA.
Yeah, I'm going with some friends, but we've got tickets, but I don't have a press pass for it. That would be weird anyhow, because my friends would be over in a whole different section. But it's kind of crazy. Dan McKenzie, 303-713-8255. We do have lines open, 303 Martino. What other nuggets can you put out there for younger couples? I mean, if you don't have, at what point do you cross over from a simple will, because you have kids and maybe you live in an apartment? I would assume that would be a simple will. I mean, is that part correct, or that could still go either way?
It could still go either. I mean, the issue that you have when you have little kids is not just their day-to-day care, but also the care of the money. Like, who is taking care of the money, and what are the instructions to when to distribute to those kids?
Wouldn't that be in the will, though? Is that in a will?
I mean, so the will, if you have kids, you can't leave money directly to minors. Right?
Yeah,
so you got to put something in there about a trust. So if you have little kids, you're already into trust territory. It doesn't mean you have to set up a trust right now, but your will should at least have trust provisions saying, here's the adult who's going to hold this money for this kid. So probably the thing we see the most often that is problematic is people having life insurance policy, for example.
Oh.
And they say, it's the beneficiary on it is my brother. And they have little kids. And my brother knows that this money is for my kid and he's going to take care of it. It's like, okay, is the IRS in on this conversation? I mean, are other, if your brother gets divorced, is his wife in that conversation? Because all that money is in his bank account, right? So like to the world, that money is his money. And if he runs into any tax problems, creditor problems, medical bills, like that, no one's going to be like, oh, is that for your nephew? Okay, well then we won't go after it. Like,
so what would be the safest way to set that up so that doesn't happen and your kids turn 18?
It's got to be clear that the brother is holding that money in trust for the kid, and it's like he's in control of it. It's not legally his money.
So if the trust isn't there and just the will saying this guy gets the kids, the money's going to go to them anyhow. But the trust isn't set up to define what the money's for.
There's no instructions to the brother about what's appropriate to use. And hopefully, you have enough money that it actually gets them past 18 when they have a guardian. And now the brother's having to decide, like the kid's coming to them directly and saying, I need a car, I need tuition, I need whatever. What are the instructions to him? If you've just given him the life insurance policy and now the kids are like, well, really, that's our money. And the brother's kind of like, no, I don't really like the way you're, playing video games all the time. So I'm not going to give it to you.
Now, do people hire companies? I know they do, but you suggest it where they hire companies to actually take care of the money, or now we're starting to talk about a lot of money. So in other words, the kids go to the brother-in-law, but the brother-in-law doesn't have access to the money. It's really not in his account, if you will. It's sitting with a financial advisor, for lack of a better term, somewhere. Or with the courts.
Yeah, the courts, that happens if you don't have a trust, you leave money directly to a kid who's 5, for example. The court is going to have to appoint a conservator to manage that money for the kid.
But that can cost a fortune, right?
It's a big pain to get a conservatorship in place and it gets monitored every year. You got to file reports. You might have the money restricted, meaning you can't actually spend it until you get court approval to do so. So that's a pain in the butt. So you want to avoid all this.
If you set something up in a trust, we did when our kids were under 18. So, in other words, if they wanted to spend money on college, they could have access to it. If they wanted to spend money on a trade school, they could have access to it. Mm-hmm. There was different things, and I assume this is pretty basic stuff. Yeah. But when they hit a certain milestone, say 25 or 28, then they would have access to more. Then when they hit 31 or whatever we had, this is going back a ways, then they would have access to whatever they want.
Right.
So if they had an argument about that, let's say we both passed and they were 25 and they were getting half, but they really need the full amount. I have no idea what the justification is. Is there a route they can ask a judge to give them the full amount?
You can always ask a judge.
So does it happen a lot?
A lot.
And then more importantly, not asking, but does it happen a lot they get it?
Oh, boy, it depends on a million factors. So, I mean, sometimes the trustee is right that it's not appropriate to distribute, and sometimes the kid is right. I mean, we've seen it go where the kid is asking for money and really living hand to mouth, and the trustee is just real hard about it, and they're inappropriate. They're way too hard about it. Trustees sometimes lose that fight.
Yeah, and then it's totally up to a judge.
Yeah.
God, that's kind of scary because you would think whatever you put into the trust. Now, how about irrevocable? Mm-hmm. If it's an irrevocable trust and both parties, well, first of all, the difference is pretty straightforward. One you can change, the other you can't change.
Yeah, if we're talking about a trust that was set up for a kid, that is an irrevocable trust. Like your trust that you set up for yourself during your lifetime is a revocable trust, but for the most part, any trust that is created after someone has passed away is now an irrevocable trust. If they were going to change it, they would, we wouldn't do this.
Yeah, but if I create an irrevocable trust right now, like let's say I had a caretaker that was taking care of me. Tell me if this is a reason people set it up. And that person isn't getting paid, they live with me, but when I pass, I'm going to give them a lump sum of money. That's kind of the deal we have. Mm-hmm. That would be a reason to set up an irrevocable trust, because at the last minute, I can't change my mind and not pay them for all the years of care.
That caretaker might want to make sure that I mean, there'd be a couple ways. You could have a contract or a note or something like that.
Well, give me an idea of why someone would do. I got to take the break, but I'd like an idea of why someone would do an irrevocable trust. Hold tight.
I've never seen it go this long without callers.
I know.
Callers.
What's happened?
I've never seen it go this long without any callers.
Yesterday. Gravina. GravinaWindows.com. That's how you get a hold of him. Larry Gravina started working for his dad in 1972. Now Nick, his son, is at the helm. He joined his dad about 25 years ago. And man, these guys together, over 50 years selling windows. They got over 50 lines of windows. 20 different manufacturers. They've got more choices than most window companies out there. They're going to have the product at the right price point for you. That's the bottom line. Have them come out. They'll give you a free estimate. There's no arm twisting. They're good people. Give them a checkout at GravinaWindows.com or call them right now, 303-472-8462.
For you when you feel it's appropriate.
Sure.
How long is this anyhow, this confirmation, you know?
I think it's going to be most of the day.
Is it just one day, though?
Yeah, I think it's just today.
It's a long day.
Yeah.
I can't imagine being him. Or any of them. Forget just him.
You get scrutinized like crazy.
And he's not used to it.
Holy
Well,
cow.
actually, of course he's used to it.
Better get used to it. How's that?
Yeah.
On the Trump team.
What do you mean?
It's going to be really monotonous.
Well, it's just the same thing. It's you're horrible, you're great. You're horrible, you're great.
I would dive more into it.
Hammer, hammer, hug. Hammer, hammer, hug.
I hope for more of those.
God. Ooh, got a call issue with insurance coming up.
So if you did, well, I'll ask you on air, but if you have an irrevocable trust, I'm going to ask you again on air. In fact, don't even answer it, but if both parties agree, if you and I have one, I decide to leave you or you're leaving me something for whatever reason. If we both want to modify it, can we revoke it and remodify it? That's going to be the question. Mm-hmm. If every party involved wants to change it. I could understand if you don't want to change it or I don't, it's set in stone. I would guess it all goes to the document. In the document, it might actually say that. I'm not looking at him because I don't want him to give me, I don't want a certain nod to give me the right answer.
But if it's irrevocable, how can you revoke it?
Yeah.
And then is it truly an irrevocable trust if that language is in there? That's funny.
Yeah, I'm not used to anything being so permanent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's why there are benefits to it, and people don't want to do it.
There's probably tax benefits, maybe. There's probably Medicaid benefits. I'm sure there are. Because it's not your money, so they couldn't count it as an asset towards long-term care, like on Social Security, disability, or Medicaid. Although that's some tricky shit right there.
Is that part of your job, Ian? That kind of trickiness?
I guess.
Being creative. We call it creativity.
Yeah, you stay within the lines, but you do it the best way possible.
Yeah. And it would be great to get a definition of irrevocable.
Yeah.
Just how permanent until the end of time is this thing?
Yeah.
What's it take to revoke it? What's it take to erase the ear part?
Well, we've had this conversation a lot. Think of this. We have an irrevocable trust. Okay, big deal. It's a document somewhere. Where is that document? Let's say it's in that file cabinet.
And throw it away?
Well, yeah, and if it's gone, it's gone. I mean, think about that.
Yeah, because somebody in the government knows.
You don't file it with the courts.
Yeah, so...
Your attorney has it.
Yeah, but he's not going to...
Maybe you are the attorney.
But your attorney's not allowed to say something to the government if you just decide to throw away this trust and create another one that's also irrevocable, right? You're bound by certain confidentiality rules. Are you required to...
He's chomping on the bit, but we're not letting him answer.
Can you rat out your client without losing your license?
You have to in certain things.
Well,
maybe not necessarily.
Yeah, like in criminal law, right? Like,
yeah, if they go, hey, I'm going to leave your office today and go murder that guy.
Yeah, thanks to your advice. I'll call you later for bail.
Don't forget your house spots. Got a call coming up. We started a great show last night, American Primeval.
God, it's good. It's
oh
about
my
the Mormons
God.
going to Utah.
So good, Dimitri.
It's
you don't
brutal.
watch TV, do you?
I don't have a TV. But I can get it on the internet somewhere if it's good enough.
It's brutal, man.
What's it about?
It's about the Mormons. You know, they're kind of migrating. They're going migrating west. They're getting kicked out of all their
From the 19th century migration.
Yeah, like 1850s. I didn't realize that was not that long ago.
They're betraying them is pretty evil. 303-713-8255. 303 Martino. Don, I promise I'll get to that question you have in a second. But we were talking during the break. If you go to youtube.com and type in Troubleshooter Network, you'll see the live show, and we're talking during the break. So, Dan McKenzie, I want to go back. First of all, define irrevocable for us real quick. Not necessarily the difference, but is it truly irrevocable, or does it all come down to the language in the contract or the agreement, the trust?
I mean, it's irrevocable because the trust says it's irrevocable.
So you can't change it?
You can. I mean, there's stuff you can do to kind of indirectly influence it. Like you can reserve the right to fire the trustee potentially and replace them with somebody else. There's something called a trust protector that you can put in place that can be authorized to make changes, but you cannot directly revoke or amend it.
You can't. Okay, and that's why it's there.
Yeah.
So even if every party that has to do with it, you simply still can't change it. You're not supposed to.
Yeah.
And I would guess one of the things it's used for, let's say someone's parents have $1 million. I'm just throwing a number out there.
Mm-hmm.
So this $1 million is an asset they have. They're getting ready to go into long-term memory care or whatever it happens to be.
Yeah.
When you go to Medicaid, they're going to be looking at assets.
Yeah.
So if you took that money and put it in an irrevocable trust, that asset is no longer theirs. They could qualify for Medicaid.
Yeah, there's a lot of rules around that. So,
but
just go ahead and do that.
Like a look-back period? I mean,
you got the 5-year look-back period. So if you do it, today and apply for Medicaid tomorrow, they're not going to say, "Oh, it's an irrevocable
trust." Yeah, but
trust.
this is why we call you. This is why people call you is to talk about these kind of things.
Yep.
And how to deal with them.
Right.
I mean, a lot of people feel like, oh, well, if they got money to pay for it. Well, the other side of that is, hey, I paid into the healthcare system my entire life. I believe at some point that long-term care should be picked up by the government. But I mean, regardless of even politics in that, it's just really how people look at it. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with being very smart and going to somebody like you and thinking about these things 5 years in advance so they don't become an issue.
Yeah, I mean, it's a real commitment. I mean, everyone would do it if it was easy. So, like I just said, there's a ton of rules around it, and a lot of people come in and ask us about it, and then we explain to them, well, here's the commitment you're making and what you got to do, and they're like, oh.
Well, okay, one of the negative sides to that is they're giving up. Let's say in the situation I was just talking about, they get into a big fight with their parents, or the kid wants to sell the house, the parents want to stay there. All of a sudden, the parents don't have any options. I mean, they don't have any control over those funds anymore. Literally no control.
Right.
So you give that up. I mean, that's a big deal.
Yep.
Okay, 303-713-8255. Any questions for Dan McKenzie, by the way? Today's the day to call. It's not often you get free advice from a great attorney when it comes to your estate. I mean, it's simply just the way it is. Hey, Don, thanks for holding, man. What's your issue with insurance?
Yeah, I have, there are really two different ones, but same insurance issue. The first one is I'm a snowbird. So I leave my car in my garage, for a good portion of the year, like 4 months.
Yeah.
And my insurance company, USAA, is saying that I need to keep it insured, but away, which is half the price, because if I discontinue my insurance, it will show a lapse of insurance. And then it will be more expensive when I try to reinsure.
Well, not only would it show a lapse in insurance and be more, but the other side to that is if your house burns down, your car is not going to have any coverage to it. I mean, I don't know what kind of vehicle it is, but yes, most carriers have something that will cover it when you're not driving it, and I assume that's very cheap coverage. How much is that away coverage? What did they quote you on that? I can't imagine it costs that much.
It's 50% of what the normal coverage is.
Well, how much is the normal coverage?
The normal coverage is about $1,200. What is it? $1,200 or $2,000 every 6 months.
Well, that seems high as hell. Hey, Kelly, get Brian Burns on real quick. What kind of vehicle is it?
It's a Lexus 2010 LX 570.
God, that just seems... Go ahead, Dimitri.
And Mark, as you probably know, that's a rebadged Land Cruiser. So, Don, it sounds like you have full coverage on it, right? Not just liability. You really want to insure it against comp and collision? It's not a very expensive automobile anymore.
Yeah, but he shouldn't even... When my point to that, though, Dimitri, then I'll let you answer, Don, is when you have the insurance we're talking about, away insurance, meaning the vehicle's not going to be driven, and if it is driven, I don't think you have liability coverage at that point, but we're going to ask our insurance expert. I would think that insurance, I mean, he's talking $2,000 a year to insure a vehicle probably worth $5,000. That just seems crazy.
Yeah, I think he's got full coverage on it.
Yeah, but he does have full coverage on it.
He does.
You do, right, Don?
Yeah, so maybe knock it down to comprehensive. And
Yeah, but no. You're
collision.
hold on. I got Brian Burns up. Hey, Brian, I've got a question for you. Don called up.
Yeah.
He's got like a 2010 Lexus, whatever. I don't even know the value of it, nor do I care. Right now, he pays $4,000 a year for coverage on it. It's basically full coverage. We'll call it that for now. So he's got comp, collision. He's got everything on it. $4,000. He's a snowbird. When he is not here and he's wherever in the warm sun, where we all wish we were right now, they want to charge him for what I think he referred to as away insurance, and I've heard of it and I know about it, but they still want $2,000 a year for that. So the questions are, doesn't that seem kind of high? 50%? And if you do drive the vehicle, if you end up driving it in that period of time when you have that coverage, I assume the liability coverage isn't there, the comp collision. Tell us about this kind of insurance for snowbirds.
Yeah, it should. I mean, it should be far less than that. I agree with you. But what it should be is comprehensive only. So it's just storage insurance, basically.
Yeah, it's
so
for a fire, basically.
Exactly. Or if someone stole it, that would be a comprehensive.
Yeah,
but
of course.
It's not covered for any kind of collision, and it's not covered for liability or uninsured motorists. But it should be a drastically reduced price. 50% doesn't seem like enough.
Well, that seems ridiculous, because if it wasn't a 2010 Lexus and it was a 2024 Tesla, I mean, you could be paying $7,000 a year or something crazy. I mean, hey, Don, what is the value of that vehicle? Whoops, hold on. Let me lock you in, Brian. My bad. Hey, Don, what is the value of that vehicle?
30,000.
Well, okay, so it's worth quite a bit more than I thought, but let's take him at his word what it's worth. Now, does that number seem better, Brian? $2,000 a year? And what do you call that insurance? I'm sure each carrier has a little different name, but what is the main name of it? Away?
Yeah, I mean, usually when someone calls, you're suspending coverage is what you say. You're suspending coverage on the car.
To comp only. You're not going to be driving it. Now, if you do drive it, you have zero liability, right?
That's right. Yep. You've got to make sure that you have the coverage back in force before the car is ever driven. But yeah, it should be. But to answer your question, no, that doesn't change my mind. A $30,000 car with comprehensive only should not be $2,000.
Not even close. Hey, Don, who do you have for insurance right now?
It's USAA, which I've always thought was the best.
You know what I'd like you to do, Don? I want you to be a guinea pig of mine right now. Would you, seriously, I want you to call up Brian, and I'll have Kelly exchange information and have him run the numbers on that, and then you call back up sometime in the next 3 hours and let us know. And Brian, I'd love for you to let us know too, because that just seems insane for me. And how often do people do that? Don, hold on. Don, you said you had two questions. What was the other one?
Well, the other one, it's the same vehicle, and I had hail on May 30th, and they've totaled my car, and they've come back with a value on it, and we're $3,000 apart.
All right, hold on. I'm going to put you on hold. I got to take this break. I get the second question. We're going to go to that. Then after that, Brian, we're going to do this update with an HOA issue with Dimitri, and then Debbie's got a question for our guest, Dan McKenzie. One line open, 303-713-TALK. I'll remember how to use the phone in a minute. Thank you. Vestera. Who was digging into Vestera? Oh, Bo. Vestera. Can you put a retirement account into a trust?
No.
VesteraTurnkey.com. I want you to check out that website, VesteraTurnkey.com. They go around the country. They find a hot pocket of a good economy, a growing economy. They find the right house to purchase. You own it. You buy it. They manage it. You collect the rent. As it goes up in value, you can sell it whenever you want. They have made people millionaires. We've been talking about these guys for around 25 years. It's a wealth building program in real estate where you have to know almost zero to participate. You sit back, you make the money. I want you to call for all the information. VesteraTurnkey.com, VesteraTurnkey.com. KH Home Solutions, Alpin Windows. I really want you to Google that. Alpin Windows, KH Home Solutions. This window's unbelievable. If you're up in the mountains and it's time to redo the house and make it look beautiful, not only are these windows gorgeous, they're more energy efficient than any other window that I know. And KH Home Solutions has been around since 1956. It was started 68 years ago. 303-421-7100. A great company, a great service company, great pricing. KHWindows.com. Save now. I love that pickleball, babe.
I do too. You know what though? Oh, I'm looking for shoes that aren't expensive. They look like nursing home shoes. I'm like, what am I? I am not nursing home level here.
Bubbos.
What?
Bubbos.
No, these are okay, and they all seem to be slip-ons.
Really?
Yeah, unless it's just how they're picturing them. I like shoes that tie. I do not want slip-on sneakers for Have you ever played pickleball, Dan?
I play a lot of pickleball.
Yeah. We just had our first lesson last night.
Okay.
Oh my God.
I love it. Play 3 pickleball games and you'll be a competent pickleball player.
Where do you play, in this area or something?
Yeah. So I play at the Y over at the Littleton Y, and then we have a group that plays at the there's a news center that used to be that ice rink.
That's where by Goodson Center.
You know, he just said something. There's a beautiful Y in Monument.
Oh, I'll
I
check
wonder
that
if
out.
they have courts.
Because it seems like a lot of reservations are taken up.
It's hard to get court time.
Have you played at the Sporty Pickle?
No.
That's what Mark wants to do. He's like, let's go play then have beer.
It looks cool as hell.
Yeah, they got some cool places.
Man, it was so fun.
How long have you been playing?
Years, a long time.
Did
6 or 7 years.
Did you convert from racquetball or tennis or ping pong?
I was primarily a tennis player. Yeah.
Got it. We're in our RV, 6-8 weeks out of the year generally, and every different place we go to, it's pickleball. I found it fairly easy just because I played tennis and racquetball.
Yeah.
He had us doing this little drill where you basically had to keep the bounce in the kitchen, and that takes a minute to get used to. When you play racquetball, you're used to just nailing the ball. I mean, it's like a whole different deal. I bet Dan's really good. I bet Miller is very good at that.
He played 3 hours yesterday morning.
Wow. Dan did?
Yeah, and he says, I'm playing another 3 hours tomorrow.
This guy played.
I'm like, I need to retire. That's what I'm going to go play pickleball and do yoga.
God, I'd die of boredom. I think we will really get into the pickleball, though.
Yeah.
He says he just shows up. Remember, he's a single player. He'll show up down at Goodson and basically just, find people and start playing.
Yeah. Have you ever played at that new big place down in the Springs?
No.
No?
Is it outdoor?
I thought it was indoor.
I don't know what
it has
it is.
24 courts.
Pickleball?
Yeah. But anyway, I'm trying to find us a place that's just... But you're right.
Oh, you know who might have one we could get access to is Richards. They might have...
That's probably outdoors, though. It's too cold for that
yeah,
right
you're
now.
right. It would definitely be outdoors.
Let me look at monuments. Monument.
YMCA.
This place off of C470 is absolutely huge. They got hockey
off the
rinks
county
in
line
there.
That what's it called? South Suburban Sports Complex. But they don't have pickleball courts.
No, they turned
That's
the
the
basketball
thing.
courts into them.
They just put the lines down for it.
Did you after you played a little bit, Dan? Did you spend like big bucks on a racket?
No,
or-
I've never done that.
It doesn't seem like it would matter very much.
Boy, people get into it. I'm in some pickleball groups on Facebook, and people have like 20 paddles, and they're like, you got to replace your paddle every 3 months. I'm
Oh, it's like bowling.
I've been
Oh,
using
my gosh.
paddle,
Okay,
like,
do
for
most
years.
people wear protective eye gear?
Nope.
Okay,
They
good to
should.
know.
They probably should.
Okay.
They just get mailed.
All right, 303-713-8255. You know, I used to think pickleball was for old people only, but I'm starting to realize everybody of every age is playing this sport. We took our first lesson yesterday, Suzanne and I was asking Dan McKenzie if he played, and sure enough, he does. It's crazy. Everybody plays pickleball. It's like the new tennis, racquetball, which I love and used to play all the time with Deputy Dan back in the day. Just no one's playing it anymore. It's kind of crazy. Now, I want to go back to Don. So, Don, you have two issues. One, we already talked about you're going to call Brian Burns up and see how much they quote you on that insurance that USAA is quoting you $2,000 a year for. The insurance coverage that is basically when you're away because you're a snowbird. The other thing is the value. We have a company on our referral list. What is it? It's not Gaddy. What is it? It's I want to think of Gaddy Electric for some reason. But who's the guy that values the car, Suzanne?
Oh,
Petty Details.
Right.
Yeah, I'm thinking of Gaddy. Petty Details. So these guys, here's what I would do, Don. First of all, he's going to tell you if the vehicle, what it's worth, okay? He's going to tell you what a fair offer is, because it's possible your idea of a fair offer is different. But let's say he's correct, or you're correct, and you're that $3,000 off, and the insurance company wants to give you $27,000. You know it's worth $30,000. What do you do? And I assume you've already fought with them a little, right?
Yes, and in the contract, everybody has to agree that you will you'll get a separate appraisal at your own cost, and then you'll go to an umpire.
Yeah.
That is shared.
But have you gone to that yet? Have you gone down the appraisal clause yet?
Well, I haven't invoked it because I can't get any information associated with what the process is, and then if we do that, what the cost.
Okay, listen, we deal with this. Listen, Don, we deal with this in the winter all the time. Let's try to get Petty Details on and go over the appraisal clause next hour, Kelly. A lot of people feel like their insurance companies are screwing them when their vehicle's totaled, or the other insurance company. That's different. But when you're dealing with your own insurance company, which you are, right, Don? We're talking about your insurance company.
Yes.
Okay, hold on. I got you. I just want to make sure we're on the same page. So we're going to get Petty Details on, and we're going to talk about that next hour. The other thing I want to do is finish up with Brian Burns. Hey, Brian, I'm going to have Don call you. Do me a favor, run the numbers on that, and let me know what that runs. And Don, you can reach Brian. I'm going to put you both on hold. Brian is with Compass Insurance, 303-996-9000. Don, I want you to call him up when we're done. 303-996-9000. We're going to get Petty Details on, educate people when it comes to getting the proper amount from your own insurance company. Brian's got an HOA issue, and Debbie, I promise I'll get you up to talk to Dan McKenzie after the break. I didn't mean to close that.
Dan, the other thing I noticed, tell me if I'm missing something, pickleball is relatively expensive. I mean, $25-$30 for an hour on a court. That's what I'm seeing.
It's the South Suburban one was 10.
That's
way, so it's a little cheaper.
Okay.
I don't know how close you are to that.
And once you're in, you just keep playing, right?
Well,
yeah,
it's all by hour, isn't it?
I did not. I was there last Thursday and paid $10, and we were out there for a couple hours.
Yeah.
At South Suburban, that's the ice arena.
Yeah.
Okay, South Suburban.
Well, they have a bunch of facilities.
Ice arena. But it's the one on
Dan plays at the one in
Vine Street, SSIA Pickleball.
Yep.
Okay.
Wow, it's really called that? Is it all pickleball?
There is archery there too. They had tennis courts inside, but I think they've been converted now entirely to pickleball courts.
And so when you do a drop-in, there's generally a court available. You don't reserve, or you do?
We go like late, so we're like technically playing after hours because we know someone there. So I don't know what it's like during the day.
Okay.
Who do you play with generally?
So a group at the Y was kind of like the Y group is kind of a wide range of people. Some are pretty good and some are not. And,
Is it a couple thing though? Is it couples?
No.
Okay.
Could be, but no.
Yeah.
We have no women in the group at the moment. And we have had in the past. It's not...
Drop-in schedule. This is where our instructor said to go.
My God, this pen literally just blew up. Not the ink. I mean, like...
The drop-in schedule is 9 to noon, and then again from 5 to 8. Then you can reserve other hours. And it looks like there's relatively easy. I mean, like I can get us in at 2:30.
I would just ask Dan. Say, Dan, when's the best time for Mark and I to go up to and where? I mean, he goes.
Yeah,
he knows the whole scene.
Yeah, I see.
And if he goes with us, then we'll just piggyback on his in county or whatever it is, in district or whatever. Have you ever played, Dimitri?
No. A lot of my friends have started pickleball, and they can't say enough good things about it. It's amazing. I just don't have that kind of time.
It was started by two dads.
Is that true?
I think so. That's what our guy said.
Do you know why it's called pickleball?
Castle Rock.
No idea.
Castle Rock pickleball.
No idea why it's called.
Dan, do you know why it's called pickleball?
I do not. I've heard, and I do not remember why.
See, I understand the ball part.
Yeah, ball part makes sense. Yeah.
It was two dads. They were on vacation. This is according to our instructor. And the kids were bored off their ass. So they invented a game.
That's pretty cool.
And that was it. And they played it, of course, on a tennis court.
So that Brian guy, that's the leak detective. That's what
Who?
Brian, the leak detective for Kalea's flooded condo case. That's
Oh, he's the one that went out there.
Yeah.
Oh, very cool.
I met him out there.
Cool. Pickle boat. Yeah, this is weird. So it says it comes the term pickle boat in crew, which refers to a boat made up of leftover rowers who aren't always the best or the most experienced. So they're saying they're not good enough to play tennis.
Okay.
I would assume. The name was chosen by Joan Pitchard, who was inspired by the game's combination of equipment and rules.
Castle Rock has $10 drop-in play Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Mark?
What's that?
Castle Rock has $10 drop-in play.
Where is it?
Monday, Wednesday, Friday at the Castle Rock Rec Center.
The one by the high school, kind of?
I guess so. I'm a little confused, but yeah, it kind of looks like it.
Yeah, sure enough. Pickleball. And the court's actually bigger than I thought. When I've just walked by them, I thought it was much smaller.
Libby says to tell you Tiger Woods plays in the Indoor Golf League tonight on ESPN.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I don't even know what that means, but okay.
Have you haven't seen that?
No.
Oh my goodness. So imagine this. When you're inside and you're on the tee, you drive the ball and it's basically, it's fake. I mean, it's like digital. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But once you get close enough to the green, it picks up and turns. What you're standing on literally turns, and it becomes real golf.
Oh.
So now you're using a real wedge, real putter. And it's massive. It's in like this building that is bigger than life.
So it's like semi-virtual.
I think, if I understand it, the only part that's virtual is the drive. So if you don't drive it far enough, your second hit could very well be virtual. But then as soon as you're close, it literally turns and you are on wherever you are. You're on the fairway, you're on the green, whatever it is. And the ball's right wherever you hit it virtually. Tell me that is not cool. And if you look at the place, I mean, it's massive. It looks like a data center. I don't even know where it is. I think in Florida, but I'm not sure. No, there's only one of them. I mean, it's huge. I mean, this thing had to cost billions. It's called, these are all these virtual ones. I don't even like the name virtual because it's really not. It's indoor golf. I would love to try it. I bet it's expensive. Let's see, where is this? He's going to be playing with Rory. It's in Arizona, SoFi Center. State-of-the-art SoFi Center. Virtual reality and brings fans closer to the action. It's going to be on, it's crazy. It's going to be on the Golf Channel, the tournament.
Oh, that
is that the first tournament? Who said that to you, Suzanne?
John Libby said that.
Libby, is that
YouTube.
the first tournament? Gosh. I wonder how much it cost.
Just as fast as we can. Troubleshooter's gonna help the common man.
This is the Troubleshooter Show. Now, Tom Martino.
Welcome, my friends, to the only show of its kind. We're here to solve problems, answer questions, take complaints. If you have been ripped off, you need help recouping money, maybe a bad contractor, or maybe you're dealing with no heat in an apartment for over 4 or 5 days, and the landlord won't do anything. We've helped out in so many of those, it's crazy. But this, my friends, is a show for you. Please don't forget 303 Martino. That number works on and off the air. I want to tell you really quick, this hour brought to you by Paul, the Waterman, waterpros.net. They have a system right now, an entire house system that gets rid of forever chemicals everywhere in your house. And forever chemicals are everywhere now. It gets rid of those. It helps with the chlorine, gets rid of the chlorine. And on top of that, it softens the water, all for less than $3,700. You know what? You can't get anything close to that anywhere else. He has decided to sell systems for less than anybody. That's what he does. He's Paul the Waterman. He's an actual master plumber, and he knows what he's doing, and he loves helping people. He lives and breathes water. Call Water Pros today. Go to waterpros.net. That's waterpros.net. Now, listen, we've got a couple different things going here. I want to get Justin Petty on real quick. Justin, we just had a call. And I want to just basically sum it up so people understand something. When an insurance company does not give you what you think your vehicle is worth, and we're talking about your own insurance company, you have a claim, maybe the vehicle gets stolen, maybe somebody with no insurance hits you, whatever. You're dealing with your own insurance company. They want to offer you, in this case, $27,000, and, you think the vehicle's worth $30,000. What typically happens in the appraisal property, in the appraisal clause? So if he decides to go ahead and pull that trigger, what are the different steps that happen?
So, you send an official notice to the insurance company invoking first and give them a chance to name an appraiser. So both parties have to pick an appraiser. You invoke that process. Once they name the appraiser, typically that appraiser and myself, if I'm hired, will discuss the claim within a couple of days and see if we can agree on a value. And if we do, we sign an award document and send it to the carrier, and they're bound by that number.
And that's what they have to do, because when you have that contractual agreement or the policy, that's an agreement you have with the insurance company. And in that language basically says if we disagree on the dollar amount, then we go into the appraisal clause. You hire somebody, I hire somebody, and then they go together. Now, you guys, what was that caller's name, by the way? Does anybody remember? I forget the guy's name.
Don.
So, Don, I know you're still listening. I would personally call Justin up, because instead of you going through that, Justin, you guys do that for one flat fee, correct?
Yeah, I mean, we look at any case that comes through, make sure it's a low offer, and if it is, we charge one fee, and we just handle that part of it for you.
And that first part, and I was telling Don this, is free. The most important part for anybody out there that's dealing with this, the first part is simple as this. You ready for this? You call up Justin Petty and basically say, hey, I have a 2015 blah, 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 this many miles. They're offering me this. He's going to ask for the VIN. He's going to figure out all the add-ons it has. He's going to listen to you if you just put tires on that day or something along those, something outside the ordinary. And basically, he's going to tell you if you're correct, it's under. And if it's not under, Justin, you're going to be the first to tell him there's not going to be much I can do to help, because we're not going to win this thing.
For sure, yeah. We don't want cases that we're not valuable on. So we tell you the truth either way.
So anybody would be crazy not to call, at least for the free advice. And how much do you charge for this? How much is that flat fee? $500, right?
It's $550. But yeah, real close to $500.
Got it. I love it, man. I absolutely love it, and that's it. But if you're dealing with somebody else's insurance company, how would you help in that situation? Because you can invoke the appraisal clause. So how would you, if you could help, what would you do?
We help a lot of people with third-party claims that you're talking about, and mainly it's free help. I have a free ebook that we send that explains all the problems with insurance company automated valuation systems like their CCCs and auto claim, they're all the ways that they come up with value. So it's tips and tricks is how we help. And of course we can write an appraisal, but it's typically not worth it to buy an appraisal on a third party claim. It's better to just know how to argue it.
Yeah. You know what drives me crazy? And I'm in the same boat. I've done this. You have a vehicle, you kept it extremely clean. You drove it like, someone driving it to church on Sundays only, the whole thing. It's just in great shape compared to most of them. And people think, and like I said, I've done this as well, people think that vehicle has more value than the average one. And typically it really doesn't. I mean, it's great that you kept it into good shape. But, I mean, wouldn't you agree with that? In general, they're all worth the same. A 2020 Santa Fe with 20,000 miles and no previous damage is basically worth what every other Santa Fe's worth at that point.
I agree. I mean, the condition of a vehicle is relevant, but it needs to be something that really stands out to change the value of the vehicle. Like it's got damage on it that's, dents on it, or a cracked windshield or something to that effect. That is really a big difference. Typically, they're all going to be considered in average condition, and there's not going to be a huge change in value because you kept it super clean.
Yeah, one other thing I want to give out there is a nugget of information that Justin has taught and the calls have taught me over the years. Diminished value, I just want to talk about real quick. There is so many people that are in an accident. Somebody runs a red light, hit them. The vehicle's not totaled, but there's damage to it. I don't care if it's $1,500 in damage or if it's a $100,000 car, $50,000, $70,000 in damage. There's damage. I'm not talking about a tail light, but with the exception of that, in fact, arguably it could be a tail light. If it goes through insurance, that might be affected. But they don't realize after getting their car fixed, they left a lot of money on the table. That car that had no accidents before, or maybe it had one accident before, now has been diminished in value. When you go to sell that vehicle or trade it in, they're going to see the Carfax or whatever report they run on it, and that vehicle is now worth less than a vehicle like it that's never been in an accident, even if it's fixed perfectly. That's just the nature of how things work right now. And so many people, in fact, Justin, how many people leave that diminished value claim and never do anything? Because the other insurance company doesn't go, oh, hey, by the way, not only are we going to fix your vehicle for $10,000, but we owe you another $2,500 for diminished value. Does any insurance company ever do that?
I haven't seen one volunteer it, no. Lots of people leave it on the table. They don't know that they can go after it.
They have no idea. Wouldn't you say over 50% or even higher leave the diminished value on the table?
Yeah, I would say it's even higher than that. It's still something that people are just not aware of.
No, and the insurance companies don't. The insurance companies don't talk about it. In fact, they go out of their way not to educate people on it. Arguably, I mean, it's understandably, I should say, why. I mean, you know, they've got their stockholders to deal with. Justin Petty, diminishedvalueexpert.com. Diminishedvalueexpert.com. Free advice. He'll tell you what that vehicle's worth, and then if you need to invoke that appraisal clause, he'll do it all for $550. Don, I hope you call Justin up and get back with us. Debbie, what's your question for Dan McKenzie? Then Brian, you're going to be up after that. We have two lines open in a second. 303-713-8255. I want to hear about the bad contractor. I want to hear any questions. 303 Martino. Debbie, what is your question?
Hi. Thanks for taking my call. Yeah, I have a question regarding a will. I have a very old will, and it needs to be updated, I'm sure. But my daughter's been a joint tenant on my home for many, many years.
Interesting.
So my home, when I pass, my home automatically stays with her. So there's no will needed for my home, correct?
Right. Your will would not control property that is held jointly.
Okay, right. And then my kids are my beneficiaries on my CDs, my IRA, etc. Isn't that enough to make sure they get those funds? No will needed for that.
Correct. Those are
correct?
Also in front of the will.
Good.
Yep.
Good. Okay. So
I'm sorry to interrupt, but both of you, a lot of people are sitting there going, joint tenancy, what does that mean? So give us an idea of what she's referring to.
So you can co-own something with somebody, right? Your house or your cars or whatever, and there's different ways to do that. Most of the time it is joint. Joint means that every owner owns 100% of the asset. There's no separate shares. There's no, 50-50. It is you all own the whole thing. So if one of you passes away, the survivors just keep going.
But if I want to buy a house with Dimitri as an investment, I don't think I'd buy it that way.
Right. So the other option is tenants in common, meaning you actually do have separate shares.
And in tenants in common, like he could own, say, 33%, I could own 67, or however we want to break it up.
And you could be back at the problem we discussed earlier that you could end up co-owning that house at Dimitri's heirs if you have not thought through that.
Yeah.
Because his share is going to go to his heirs, not you.
Debbie, what other question do you have for Dan?
Well, I just wanted to confirm those are my main assets, my little bit of money I have in my home. So why have a will? I have personal items that my kids would come in and take if they even want them. So what would I need a will for?
Well, the personal items, you could still direct where those go, and probably should.
In the will.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, there might be a few items you have, and it's good to say, here's who would be in charge of any issue that comes up. For people who have adult kids that they want to leave everything to, I mean, I don't know, it sounds like you have multiple kids and only one of them is on the house. And so she is going to get that house.
Yeah, I've got two, right?
Okay.
She's living here with me already. But, yeah, so I'm a pretty simple person.
Yeah, well, hold on, Debbie. I have a question on that. So if the one person that you own the house with, are they going to sell it and share it with the other sibling, or they're going to get it all together? I mean, what's the plan?
The plan is she would move here because she loves my house. She stays here. My son lives out of the country. He's in Australia.
So he wouldn't have anything to do with the house?
No. And I wouldn't make her sell it to give him half. She's the one that is here hanging out with me. She'll be the one taking care of me when the time comes.
Dan, do you see any issues with what she's saying? Could that, and I'm not saying your son would do this, that's not my point in this, it's more or less if the son did want to go after that asset, there's nothing they could do because the house is in the name.
It'd be real hard. I never say never.
Yeah.
Anybody can sue anybody, but it'd be hard.
Okay. The other thing, so she's in a unique position where she doesn't think she needs a will. Would you agree based upon what you've heard?
So here's the issue. Your bigger risk at any point in your life is that you're going to have an incapacity event, not that you're going to die. And I don't know if you have powers of attorney in place to handle that stuff, but that is also important because those designated beneficiaries and joint ownership are not helpful in that situation. They're only helpful if you pass away. So most estate plans cover both of those. And then, some people want to make sure that their kids are receiving stuff in some sort of protected way. Designated beneficiaries don't do that. So they can be great. We have clients who do choose to do it the way you do it. You've done it and set up designated beneficiaries for everything. So that does happen, but there are limitations, and you just have to keep remembering to keep updating them going forward if you change banks or move or whatever else, because it's attached to the asset. It is not like a comprehensive plan.
Got it.
It is piece by piece.
Would for example, Medicaid, let's say she does end up in long-term and no one's got money to pay for it, and she ends up on Medicaid in some long-term facility, but she's still alive. Yeah. Can they go after her share of that asset, that house? I'm just talking about the house.
Yeah, so that is complicated. It sounds like your daughter does not live there now.
No, but she would.
Yeah.
She would definitely move in, yeah. I'm just a mile from her, a really nice, great school district.
Yeah, but I'm more worried if Medicaid has some kind of land grab.
Yeah, if there is a Medicaid situation, like the fact that a person is owning it but not living there, they might still require you to, sell that house or put a lien on it or something.
Yeah.
Like that. So that can happen.
Yeah. Okay, and my money too, as well as my CDs and that with my beneficiaries, they don't have access to that Medicaid, correct? If I am in a facility, Medicaid.
It depends on what kind of access you have to it, and again whether Medicaid's pretty complicated, but they have rules, and they're going to make you spend your own money first before they kick in.
Really, what I'm hearing. Debbie, what I'm hearing, and, I'm not the attorney, but what I'm thinking here is you should have a conversation with an attorney. And the reason being is if you set up things in the proper way and you do them early enough, like a 3 or 5 year look back, none of these things would be an issue if you did go into some form of long-term care that you couldn't afford. And honestly, almost no one can afford long-term care anymore. I mean, really, what is that? Dan, what does it run?
Coming after my money.
What is like a memory care run? Honestly,
like the cheap ones are, probably $10,000 a month at the moment.
Yeah, $10,000 a month forever. So Debbie, I got to take this break because I'm way over. Feel free to hang if you have another question. You can tell Kelly what you want to do. And then 3 lines open in a second. 303-713-8255. We've got a great update coming up. Well, I don't know if it's great. We've got an interesting update coming up. I mean, how many people, literally end up getting, millions of dollars taken from Medicaid because they didn't do the proper, hold on, I gotta do this. DiscountBath.com, quality remodels at a discount price. I love these guys. We had Chris out to the house, and they do everything. I mean, they can do the entire bathroom. We were talking about actually taking the bathtub out and turning that area into the closet as well as the closet, expanding the closet big time, and then just remodeling the shower. And then we talked about just doing the shower itself, the tub area, turn that into the shower, and then we just opened it up with another vanity. But if you can think of it, if you can dream it, when it comes to your bathroom, these guys can do it, and they can do it at a discount price. But don't let that word discount scare you. It's quality materials. It's great service. They just happen to give a discount price. They can do those tub-to-shower conversions very quickly as well. I want you to check them out at DiscountBath.com. It's simple as that, DiscountBath.com. Now, I want to tell you about Become the Banker. Their website is mymoneymyway.com. They have a product, an annuity, that right now you can get a 15% bonus, and that money starts growing day one. Day one when you buy that annuity. Then it's going to grow and grow and grow. And then when it's time to retire and you want to turn on that income stream, you're going to have a guaranteed paycheck for life with these guys. Please check them out. If you haven't looked into them, I want you to check them out right now. Go to mymoneymyway.com. Oh, my bad. Joe, I didn't even realize you were on with me.
Well, that's okay.
Well, I hope, did I do a good job at least doing a 30-second spot for you?
Well, you did a wonderful job, you know.
You know what? I apologize, man. I'm looking down. I'm going, wait a minute. Joe's actually on. So, Joe, I mean, I think I covered everything, but honestly, I love that word guaranteed, and I'm not kidding about that. You can never lose the principal. Even if you die at the age of 80 and you've been receiving that check every month, you'll never lose principal. Your offspring would get it, or your spouse would get it, however you set it up, correct?
That is right. It's guaranteed for life. And you know something else, Mark? Real quickly, you were talking to the attorney that you have right there about long-term care. Long-term care is a very important, risk that we should all be looking at. It's very expensive, like $10,000 a month.
And on a cheap side.
Yeah, and this annuity actually has a long-term care benefit.
Let's explain when that kicks in real quick. In other words, as you get older, let's say all of a sudden you can't use the bathroom by yourself, or you can't cook your own meals. Certain things happen, and then that kicks in. And the cool part about the annuity we're talking about, not only that 15% bonus that grows from day one, Joe, but then you double that monthly payment. So if it's $6,000 a month you're getting till the day you die, all of a sudden it becomes $12,000.
That is right, to help you pay for long-term care. And Mark, I'm so excited about this because we're going to have an event coming up on the 30th of this month.
Yeah, I love it.
We're going to have it at the Denver Tech Center at the Even Hotel, which is right across the street from Maggiano's, and we're going to show a movie that will talk about long-term care.
I love it. I've seen it.
About Social Security. You've seen it.
Joe, I get it, and I'm going to start giving that information out where people can sign up. In fact, I'm pretty sure they can sign up right now at mymoneymyway.com. If it's not ready to enroll, just give them a call and they'll get you down. But go to mymoneymyway.com for any questions you have for Joe. I didn't look at the time, as you can see. I caught, you know what? I caught it. And I was so proud of myself for nailing it at 30, Shannon. Thank you. Okay, I did a Waterman. Frank Duran coming up. So there's really no one. I mean, unless if you're basically homeless or just zero assets, you should have something in place.
Yeah. I mean, people need authority. I'm dealing with one client right now who just needs the authority to deal with, like, her ex-husband, her kids are his beneficiaries. She needs the authority to deal with his apartment complex. And they're asking for proof that she has that authority.
And without it, they're not going to deal with it.
Yeah.
I take it he died.
He did, yeah.
So what does she need from the apartment complex?
All his stuff's in there.
Don't they want it out? So
But they don't know who, like, his sister is calling, too, and saying she wants to come get it. So they're like, we don't know who to deal with here.
And they don't want to end up being liable for something going wrong.
Right.
You let the sister in, and she took that safe that had $30,000. That's
right.
Right.
It's gone. So what are you going to do in that case?
Open probate.
How long is all that stuff going to take until somebody gets a note from the judge that says, hey, let Susie answer to...
Yeah.
All right, 303-713-8255, 303 Martino. We got some lines open. You've been ripped off or taken advantage of. We want to hear from you or any questions you have. We can get any of our experts on at referrallist.com. Hey, I wanted to give this update again. It sure looks like I've been emailed twice now that Don Eiley, the accountant that stole money from a lot of small businesses right here in Colorado, died in federal prison. I've been trying to figure out how he died, but I can't find anything on it. Zero. In fact, I'm starting to learn when you die in prison, there's really not a lot out there. I mean, I don't know. In fact, Dan McKenzie, I don't know if you've ever dealt with this, but what happens to, like, if you have a life insurance policy and go into prison, does that matter? I mean, if you get shanked in prison, does the policy generally still pay out, or is there, how about if you get drafted? I mean, really,
Yeah.
I'm not saying you've dealt with this, but...
No. If it's been kept up to date, why not?
Yeah,
I mean,
why wouldn't it pay?
Yeah.
If they issue the policy, it pays. Have you ever dealt with a policy that doesn't want to pay for one of your clients?
I have not. I mean, obviously it could happen, but...
Suicide's generally a clause, right? In the first year or something?
Yeah. They're just, sometimes they're just... Generally, it needs to be some time that passes before it kicks in. So, it could happen.
Is that an important part of a lot of people's estate? Is it a life insurance?
It should be. I encourage life insurance because it's cash and it's creditor protected. People don't appreciate that. Like, I've got my estate, I got my house and my cash and all that kind of stuff. But when I pass away, part of the process is paying people that I owe money to. And I could owe a lot of money, right? I mean, I could get in an accident that leads to my death and that I caused, right? So my estate could be getting sued for like millions of dollars.
But they can't go after that money?
Yeah, my estate is generally going to be liable for that if I lose. But life insurance money is creditor protected, meaning like my kids will get that money, right? It's not there to actually pay.
It's also tax proof, right?
It is income tax free.
So it doesn't matter if you have a $10 million policy or $200,000.
Yeah.
You're not going to pay taxes. Your heirs aren't going to pay taxes.
Right.
Wow. So it's well worth the money.
Life insurance, even if you feel like I got plenty and don't need life insurance, you probably do. You should have life insurance. And I don't sell it.
I did not know that did not go into the estate to where creditors could go after it. I did not know that part.
Yeah.
And that's period. I mean, there's no real exceptions to that.
Yeah, you want to be careful because some people will say the beneficiary is my estate, or they won't put a beneficiary on it in some cases, and they can go into the estate. Now creditors
are open.
There's going to be an argument. There's going to be an argument about whether they have access to that money or not. So
I got
just want
you.
to be careful about that.
Where if you just listed the beneficiaries, that would never be a question.
Trust created for the beneficiaries if they're kids.
But the way you said that, even if they did accidentally or whatever, they put it into the estate or put it into a trust for that matter or anything, it sounds like there would be an argument, but most of the time they still can't get access to it, or no?
It depends on how the fiduciary handled, the executor handled that. Like, did they just mix it in with everything else? Because we usually tell executors, like, put that in a separate account so it's real clear what the life insurance money is.
I gotcha.
So you got to be careful. Like sometimes executors go out there and just start doing stuff and kind of grabbing stuff and throw it at like retirement funds. They just start grabbing and throwing it. Like retirement funds have tax consequences. So I just want to run out there and grab those, and same thing with life insurance.
All right, so listen, we're going to take Brian right after this. I went long on the last segment. So Brian and Dimitri have been working to help this lady out. This lady has been out of her condo for over 2 years.
2.5 years.
2.5 years. We've been talking about this, and right now the condo is basically gutted. She had a lot of water damage. There's no drywall in there. It's basically cement walls, literally cement walls, because that's the way the condo was built. So Brian went out there, and the whole thing boils down to this. The leak apparently is coming from the roof. Brian is a leak expert. No kidding. That's what he does. I believe he's the owner of the company.
Yeah, he's the leak detective. He even has a shirt that says that.
It's crazy. So he went out there. The HOA is saying, hey, it's not our problem. It's not our leak, so we're not going to pay for anything. But when the leak detective went out there, he found something different. We're going to talk about it after this. You imagine that, a leak detective.
Right.
It is interesting as hell. Well, you got to like leaks. I bet you he had to deal with something crazy at one point, and that's why he got into it. Because no one goes, hey, I want to get into the leak business.
Yeah, I didn't see that personality profile test you take in high school that's been sort of
Oh, I forget.
Yes, you're going to be a leak detective.
Yeah, I didn't get that answer.
Probably pretty lucrative.
Yeah, I wonder, though, like, to be an expert witness, I mean, like, what makes him an expert? I'm going to ask him all this stuff. They got those signs up everywhere. You know, we've got great attorneys at referralist.com, and Joseph A. Lazare is one of them, but he's one I hope you never call. It means you got arrested for something, or at least ticketed. He's a criminal defense attorney. He specializes in DUI, assault, domestic violence, free consultations on a lot of things like DUI. He literally has flat rate pricing. Do not go on your own up against the DA. Don't do it. You're not going to get a great deal. Joe can fight for you, and he can get you the best deal out there, or he can fight for you and get you off the charge. Here's the phone number. Write it down. Get it into your phone. 303-429-6200. 303-429-6200. Now I want to tell you about Fuller, John Fuller, Fuller Law. He's another attorney. He's a personal injury attorney on the referral list. I have personally used John, Suzanne, and I 2 times. Both times, he got us maximum payout from the other person's insurance company. You always will be dealing with Fuller. If you want to talk to the attorney, you'll talk to John. All these big companies out there, you'll be lucky to talk to the same person multiple times. I want you to write down this website. Check it out. Callfuller.com. That's callfuller.com.
You did the 11:45 spots. You just had one to do.
God, I'm used to how... Okay.
Yeah.
No, I'm used to Dragon. He just puts them up at the top. Oh, fuck off. Fuck you. All right, so I'm going to switch this one.
Shannon was like whispering in my ear as you're doing the spot, is your boy okay? Is he all right in there? It's like, oh no.
God.
And I can't interrupt him. That would totally throw his game.
Don't do it.
Yeah, I know.
So I did Joe.
I wait till I'm home to interrupt him.
Right. Ooh. Marcus Interruptus.
Marcus Interruptus.
All right, don't switch these around. I'm switching.
No, you do your thing. Everything's fine.
It's funny that
Oh, my God.
Mark was doing the ad for Joe, and Joe was on the phone
When was that?
just a few minutes ago, right?
No, we didn't have Joe on the phone.
Joe hasn't been on.
Now you're confused, Scott.
No, I am,
See,
right?
Scott's confusing me.
Mark is
I
a
thought
carrier.
Joe was...
I'm very preoccupied
Okay,
today.
you don't want...
Mark,
you
talk
just,
to him.
Oh, I see. I would just delete 11:30 and have 888 heating 30 on. That's all I would do, babe. Just take everything
Yeah,
out.
but I still... And I'll fill. I'm just going to fill some.
Okay.
There.
Yikes. Hope you don't do Joe Lazara.
You may not have to. I think the breaks will work out. Long story.
Okay.
All right.
You just do your 888 and it'll be great.
Oh, shut up.
Dude, I got...
Shut up.
It'll balance it out, is what he's saying.
Nah, it doesn't matter. I don't like Shannon math. Dragon puts them up in the right order.
Listen to that. Being compared.
Well, I'm so sorry I put 11:30 before 11:45.
Yeah, but...
Chronologically, I screwed it up.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's not how his brain is wired.
No.
No, we know it. Yeah.
It's miswired.
I'm trying to be mellow today, so shut up.
Mellow fellow.
Kelly, have you gone to get your water yet?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, guys, Kelly, while I'm thinking of it, there's no show for us on Monday.
Do you have something for me to play, or do you want me to play the one that's in there?
I don't know what Mark's going to do about that. I just know we're best of on Monday.
Yeah, we're best of.
No
One
show
that's
Monday.
already in the system. If you want it to just run, I don't have to do a ding dang thing. Although I will be here because of inauguration. So if there's something that comes up, I can handle it.
Okay.
Yeah, right. We see how that worked last break.
I already owe you for what you've done to my belly.
Oh, did you go to the Golden Corral?
Many, many times.
It's a gut bomb just thinking about it.
Is that the all-you-can-eat buffet?
Yeah, Shannon goes there all the time.
Oh, my God. Shannon is like VIP.
Shannon loves it.
He's got
He
a
says it's
VIP
delicious.
card
He's like,
to the Golden Corral.
They occasionally don't charge me.
That's nice of them.
Me and the GM are tight.
How much do you smuggle out of there when you leave?
Oh, my God. The undigested corn that I take home is amazing. You okay in there?
I bet he does. I bet he leaves with a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, like cookies.
Nah,
he goes in with Ziplocs.
I will admit to an accidental soup spoon situation that was in my pocket.
I wasn't thinking silverware.
Yeah, it was an accident.
You know what? I bet everybody's taken something from a buffet at one point.
Yeah, but how? You'd have to put it in your pocket. They don't give you...
Hey, kids, load up your pockets, man.
No, of course not. Put it in your purse.
Oh, that's gross.
I'll never forget Dan Aykroyd eating that salmon in Trading Places. Remember that, dressed as Santa Claus? Oh,
No.
my God, so gross. No?
I love that movie, though. I haven't seen that forever.
Coming back.
Trading Places. All right, 303-713-8255. 303 Martino. Oh, my goodness. We got some lines open. You've been ripped off, taken advantage of. Call now, 303 Martino. Now, Brian, what was the name of the company again? The Leak Doctor, Leak Detector?
Colorado Underground Detection.
Okay, what's your website?
DUdetection.com.
Got it. Kelly, if you would put that info up, too, so I have it to give it out. So were you actually, Dimitri, was he actually hired? What was the caller's name?
Kalia was the lady whose unit got flooded out 2.5 years ago, and I went to meet her and Brian, as well as 3 other leak detectors, and the HOA, there's a contingent of about, I don't know, there were probably about 8 of us over there, and that's when Brian and I met, and that's the day that Brian went up to the roof, and I think we should just leave it up to Brian to tell us.
Well, Brian, why? I still want to understand why you were out there. Did she hire you? Did she call you up? Were you out there from her insurance company? Why were you out there?
No, Kalea called me out to figure out why water is still entering our home.
Awesome.
And when I showed up, it's stripped down to studs. So all the drywall, all the insulation is gone. It's been condemned by the Department of Health.
Oh, my God.
And she can't rebuild because the water is continuing to come in every time it rains or snows.
Well, how's that possible with someone living over her? How come the person on top of her's unit hasn't been condemned?
Oh, the unit is getting flooded, but the lady who lives there, you know, she's alone and she's an immigrant, and I'm sure she's kind of lost in the process.
Have you talked to her, Dimitri?
No, but Kalia has.
So, but her unit's not condemned. Is this the only condemned unit we know of?
Yes, it's condemned because Kalia called the health department in an attempt to get some help to force the HOA to fix the leaks.
And they condemned it.
And they condemned it. They issued, well, the word, I met the guy from the city of Denver. He didn't use the word condemned. He said it was a 30-day order to repair.
And it's been way over that.
Yeah, of course.
So over, I still want to understand this. Over the unit on top of her where someone's living, there's another unit, or do we finally hit the roof?
Yeah, it's just a 2-story building.
2-story. Okay, so Brian, you went out there, and where is the water that's coming in to hers? Well, I mean, it's evident it's coming in from the woman above her, but beyond that, where's it coming in from?
Just to give you an idea as to how the building is built, it's tilt wall construction. So they pour these slabs in place and then raise them up and connect all 4 walls. So it's a big square block, and then they have a concrete roof that's poured, and then they have multiple layers of roofing material. And what's happening is the water, in my opinion, the water is coming through the roof, through all the little holes, and it's running down the concrete walls and causing mold development in the lower unit, which is my client's unit.
Well, why would it? Are you under the impression it's skipping that lady over her?
Well, I did an inspection of the upstairs unit yesterday and was able to see a lot of mold growth.
Oh my God.
Between the actual roof and her ceiling. So I popped the ceiling tile up and looked up back there, and I saw tons of mold growth. It's continuous.
And this woman's living there.
About a week. Yes, she is. And she has a dehumidifier in her home. And yesterday I just checked the relative humidity. Exterior was about 20 to 25%. When I went interior, we're looking at about 23.9% up to about 41% in the kitchen. So the humidity is not as much as you would think it would be to cause either condensation development on that concrete, because you think you have exterior walls that are concrete and the outside of that concrete is cold, the inside is warm. You could be developing condensation on those walls that's causing the issue. But her, if her relative humidity was 80% plus, yeah, I could say that's probably the issue. But after running water on the roof for about an hour, and this was back on the 6th, I was able to see water actually coming down into my client's unit. So
this is incredible.
I have to say the roof is the issue, and I believe that stands in the homeowner's responsibility to get it fixed. But my client cannot rebuild her unit until the water stops. I mean, otherwise she rebuilds.
And they're just flat out doing nothing, Dimitri. I mean, I know we've talked about this numerous times, but did you give like a report, Brian? Have you talked to anybody at the HOA or at least written something out?
Yes, I've given a report as to each visit that I've made out there and the evidence that I've seen. So my client has that information, and I believe she has passed that off to the HOA. What they've done with it, I have no idea. It just looks like they've been sitting on it for far too long. And when I see a client in a situation like this, that's why I thought it was so important to bring it to your attention, because she really needs help.
God, this is one of these ones. It's over 2 years. Over 2 years. I have no idea what they're possibly.
She's on a teacher's salary, so she teaches music.
Did she get all the proceeds from insurance yet?
No, Farmers hasn't.
I'm
paid
not
her.
sure.
Farmers hasn't even paid her for the personal property that was destroyed in the flooding. And Farmers, and by the way, Kalia has been CCing on a bunch of these communications with her insurance company. Farmers just simply, Kalia asked, hey, when am I going to get reimbursed for the personal property? And there's no answer. And
well, that's where a public adjuster could help.
Yeah, Matt from Paragon would be an awesome resource for her.
I wonder if it's even, it's definitely worth a call over there. See if we can get Matt on. But it's like when no one's doing anything, I almost feel like we're missing something. Like, are you sure she hasn't gone through foreclosure and doesn't even own it at this point? I mean, anything like that? Are they threatening foreclosure?
Yeah, she is now getting delinquency letters from the association for the past 2 years.
Just from the HOA, not for the mortgage.
No, she's been making mortgage payments. She ran out of money a few months ago when her insurance company stopped paying for her temporary apartment because that benefit ran out after 2 years. So Kalia is paying rent, mortgage, and now she's fallen several months behind in association dues.
Oh, my goodness.
And by the way, in addition to being a teacher, she took 2 more jobs to try to make ends meet.
This is just nuts.
And she's got an amazing attitude, too. She does. She's the sweetest woman I've ever met.
How old is she, roughly? Not that it matters. I'm just curious.
It's hard to tell. I think she's probably like what do you think, Brian?
Just middle age?
30 years old?
I would say 30s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Probably low 30s.
Is there any kids involved there?
No.
God, hold on a second, Brian. I had some other questions for you, but I got to take this break. Dimitri, I know you've been working on this, and we constantly bring it up. I'm not even sure where to go on it. We can see if Matt can get involved and help from the insurance part of it, but there's no reason to rebuild anything. To get her money for her personal property would be great, but there's no reason to put drywall up if every time it rains or snows, everything's going to be destroyed again. So they've got to do the roof. I mean, they have to fix the problem.
Yeah, absolutely. And to make matters,
what happens if the HOA doesn't have any money?
Yeah, I'm wondering if that's what's going on. I mean, what reason does the association have not
to fix a leaky roof, other than they can't afford to.
And then the lady above, he said he found mold there. I mean, it's crazy. It's absolutely bonkers. Hold tight. Hold on. It really is crazy. All right, this break I'll be able to call Miles.
Uh-oh. What's going on? Anything?
No, I've been dying to call him now for that last hour, but Shannon keeps putting all these damn spots
Why
up.
didn't you wait till the top of the hour?
Yeah, I guess I could wait till the top.
Is he
He's going to
working
tell me
today?
what happened. I'm dying to know.
Is he working today?
Oh, yeah. I'm freaking dying, man.
Marky Mark.
Hmm. 888heating.com. It's going to get really cold over the weekend. I was looking at some people that were saying, I think it was Fox 31, saying it could dip down to -10. That's absolutely crazy. Here's the deal. You have any problem with that furnace, I want you to call right now. Call the guys at 888heating.com. They'll come out. They'll tell you how much to fix it, how much to make it more efficient. And if you've been shopping around for a new furnace, it's a heck of a time to start looking with this cold coming. 888heating.com. Great service, great prices. Been talking about Garrett and the gang personally for 10 to 15 years. These are the right guys for you. 888heating.com. See, now I'm still dying to call him, but you're
Go
worried.
for it.
No,
Call him.
I'll wait, because if it
Don't
gets
leave
juicy.
me to like, whoa, I can't take over. I'll throw up. It's been suggested, Dimitri. No, thank you.
I'm dying to know
I would.
what's happening.
I told Mark I don't have enough of an ego to do a radio show and talk on the air for more than 30 seconds straight.
You just put her next to her sister. She can talk 17 hours. So explain that.
Yeah, but that stuff can't be on air.
Explain
That's
that.
private family stuff. Get my sister on the phone.
I've got 17 things on my mind.
I bet.
2 are really big, though.
Scattered. Makes you a little scattered, doesn't it? When you have that much on your mind. I'll say I've meditated every day this year so far, and I'm going to keep going. Hopefully, I'm on a streak. Like it helps with mindset. It's only been 14 days. 10 to 15 minutes a day. Every day this year, that's right. I'm going to keep saying it. Every day, I'm going to say it.
Yeah.
I'm trying.
I don't know what to do with this lady, man.
I do. She's going to go see Brad O'Brien.
She is?
It's sad. Oh, question for Dan McKenzie. Okay, good.
Well, that I can understand because she didn't do anything for 2.5 years.
But it's not her fault. She's been powerless.
I don't think it matters.
Whatever. So
I don't think it matters. If you know about something, how do you blame? Insurance is something that was sudden. We're talking mold is building up over 2 years. I just can't imagine there's any coverage for it. But it's just crazy they haven't redone the roof. I truly wonder if there's no money or they simply don't believe that it's an issue with the roof, which is crazy because of the lady under them. Her apartment's soaked.
Yeah, it's soaked and
drenched.
The HOA had not. I met with them when I was there last month. The HOA still hadn't inspected hers for plumbing leaks or anything else. They haven't said further.
Originally, when it went down, what happened? Was there a big rainstorm? Did the lady on top of her flood? What originally caused the issue? Just long-term rain?
So it suddenly started in August 2.5 years ago.
God.
The water started, it was a period of heavy rain, and
Just
water
pouring
started
in.
pouring out of her walls.
God, that would be terrifying.
She even has a video.
You imagine just sitting there and your walls are bleeding water.
Like pouring, not just bleeding, like pouring.
Yeah, it destroyed everything. I mean, I can't imagine. It's amazing they gutted the whole thing.
Their insurance company gutted everything. That's when everything came to a stop.
There's been a few that, I mean, I've personally, like, you're invested in this one. I mean, it's just evident. This is a big thing for you. And there's been a few like that I've dived into that you just never get the outcome you want.
And that's
I don't know how else
I
to
have
put
a
it.
case that's haunted me for 3 years.
Yeah, big time.
The Texas kids.
Oh, that's right.
That one's like, it's almost insolvable. We have free
it's so
attorneys
sad.
working on it.
They never got birth certificates, and they're American born in the hills of Texas. Can't get married, can't get insurance, can't get driver's license. Their parents never told the state
No
they were
social
born.
security card.
No kidding, Dimitri.
No birth certificate.
No kidding. They're in their 20s now.
The mom gave birth in a trailer in the middle of the woods in Texas.
With no windows.
No windows. Basically gave birth in the trailer to all the kids, and there's no record of these kids existing
Five
anywhere.
of the 8 kids. It is so sad. A couple of them are homeless.
I can tell by the way he's looking. He's going
He
to say,
doesn't believe it.
"Yeah, I know. It's so hard to believe."
Or I'll throw it at him. They're here in Colorado,
Which makes it a little harder now.
It makes it harder, but literally can't get married, can't even get a W-2 job because they can't. They have no identity. You're better off being an illegal migrant coming in.
One of them got
getting
pulled
an
over
ID.
for driving. The dad ended up getting the ticket.
Because
he's non-existent.
So freaking sad, Dimitri.
Oh man, we were just talking about the Texas kids.
It's so sad, Mark.
Yeah, we might talk about that a little bit next hour. Basically, we were talking to Brian, and I want to finish up with this, and Larry's got a question for Dan McKenzie, and you can get your calls in now. We have 2 lines open, 303-MARTINO. 303-MARTINO, we have 2 hours to go. But here's the deal, Brian. We really appreciate how you've been helping this lady out. And she is going to see one of our real estate attorneys, Bradley O'Brien, who hopefully can help her get the HOA to step up and repair this roof. It's evident there's water coming in with Brian's testimony or Brian's report. So there's no doubt about that. But Brian, really quick, outside of this, how did you even get involved in leak detection? How does someone wake up and go, I'm going to solve water problems? I mean, really, how'd you get involved, man?
Well, I've been in plumbing since '89. I've been a master plumber since '97.
Nice.
And I moved my way up through owning my own plumbing company to becoming a superintendent, and then started working as a custom home builder. And I had to retire from that about 12 years ago due to a back injury.
Oh.
So I had back surgery in 2012. It was not fun. And I was like, what can I do to build on my knowledge? And a friend of mine suggested leak detection, which has always been interesting to me, but it was very hard to get into because there's really no schools out there until now. So I got into leak detection, 12 years ago, and just fell in love with it. It's something new. I happen to keep track of stuff looking at average each month. So if you look at a 1 gallon a minute per leak, it's 43,200 gallons a month.
Oh my God!
Minutes we have in a month.
So in other words, a little drip can cause all the damage in the world. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, and I was helping to conserve 12 million gallons a month. So I said to myself about 3 or 4 years ago, what can I do to make a bigger impact? And I started a school. So now I'm actually teaching.
Is all that, I'm up against the hard break, but is all this information on cudetection.com?
Yes, it sure is.
All right, listen, anybody out there wants to learn more about that, or if you have a problem, more importantly, a leak, check out cudetection.com. He's been very good helping Dimitri out on this case. Larry, please hold on. I promise I'll bring you up next after the break. 303 Martino.
Okay, go make your phone call.
Dan, do you want some coffee?
I'm good. Thanks.
Well, I was going to ask everybody too.
Oh.
No coffee? No coffee?
No.
Does anybody want anything from the break room?
No, I'm good.
Thanks, Dimitri. Dan, our daughter is so close to graduating law school.
Oh.
You met her. She's at Laramie.
Okay.
Up in Wyo there.
Nice.
Yep.
Is she going to come back here?
Yep, she's got a job offer with that Dan Kaplis law firm.
Very good.
Super exciting. So we're really excited for her to start flying.
Yep.
Was passing the bar the most stressful part of getting your...
Yeah, it's pretty stressful.
That's... Her boyfriend took the bar last summer, and he passed, but, I mean, it's torture.
Oh, yeah.
I know it is.
There's about 3 months there where it's just, that's all you do.
That's like literally all he
Yeah.
did. He's like holed up in some room, in
Yeah.
his room, just studying, and then,
Yeah.
sit and stress it, because it takes, 6-8 weeks to get your results back, or whatever
Yep.
that is.
Yep.
Got any trips planned, Scott?
Not yet.
No?
No.
How's Susan?
She's still in Miami. Her dad's been in and out of the hospital.
Oh, so she's been there?
She's just staying. She doesn't know when she's going to be
Has she
back.
been there since the holidays or before then?
Mid-November.
Oh, okay, wow.
She's supposed to come home yesterday,
And
but
then decided to stay.
Decided to
What
stay.
Do you help her out with her house and
Yeah.
and stuff? Does she
Yeah.
have animals or anything?
no, not anymore. She used to have a cat, but the cat was pretty old.
Gotcha. Adeline's sitting in Cancun. It's making me a little jealous. so cold here. We went up to, I think I saw you, but man, Scotts Bluff, that's a freaking cold little town.
I'm sure it is.
Yeah, our son's there now, and it's like, oh my gosh, that place is cold. And watching the summer, it'd be hot as hell.
Probably.
Windy and hot.
Hot and windy, and winter's cold and windy.
Yeah, Demetri, it's been the most frustrating thing. It's hard to even think about those kids. It's so sad.
So the reason I was paying such rapt attention is, by the weirdest coincidence I can imagine, I was at a party last week where I was talking with a girl I've known for a very long time. She works for the Colorado State Attorney General's office.
Okay.
She was telling me about a case, and I said, well, tell me about some of your interesting cases. She's telling me about defending a case of a woman who's suing the state right now for exactly the same thing. She was born far, in one of the southern states, far, far away, off-grid, never got a birth certificate, and she's now trying to get one from Colorado. Colorado refused.
Right. You have to go back to your home state, they tell you, right?
Yeah, well, she's suing Colorado.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know how it ended up here in Colorado. But I said two things. I said, first of all, what is she going to do without a birth certificate? And why does she need one?
Uh-huh.
And the girl says, well, she needs it for all of the things exactly what you just mentioned. And she says, I'm not really sure what she's going to do without one.
Yeah.
And I said, how are you defending the case? And she said, well, we're required to by law to defend the case, right? To defend the state. But she said, but none of us are going to be really upset when we lose. So,
Okay.
without putting her on the spot or jeopardizing her job or license, I'd like to chat with her a little bit more about that case.
Yeah, because now we did get them approved for legal services. But here's the thing: the Colorado said you got to go to Texas and apply for your birth certificates. But Texas requirements for getting a birth certificate, they do not move. They're very rigid. They ask for a lot of different types of documentation. They didn't go to school. They didn't go to regular school. Original school documents, original religious records, doctors. They didn't go to the doctors. So the oldest girl, she's made a little progress through legal services. I'll have to find out what her status is. But the other one's only because she'd been to the emergency room a couple times as a little kid. So they were able, but the rest of them, I think their cases have been stalled. So if you want to dig into that at all, I'll definitely throw it at you.
I think a really good starting point to research it is I'll call her, find out the name of that case, give you a case number, so we can at least start reading the suit. And we'll see
all that
what attorneys do.
Okay, let me know what you find out, because I've sort of given up in a way, like almost washed my hands of it a little bit until we start talking about these cases, and then it's because I feel like I'm helpless to it. I got them turned on to legal services, but what can I do? I'm not an attorney. So Dimitri, let me know if you want to investigate together or tackle together. I'm willing to.
Hey, I bet that's a good motivational, though.
Case name?
Okay.
Use it, don't abuse it. Motivate the shit.
It's up for a hearing.
All right, I got to get back on air.
Keep me posted.
So it's going to get resolved very, very soon.
Okay.
And if it got resolved in favor of the plaintiff, then your three.
On 630 KHOW.
Ripped off, bad news. You need advice so you don't have to lose. We'll come running just as fast as we can. Troubleshooter's gonna help the common man.
This is the Troubleshooter Show. Now, Tom Martino.
Welcome, my friends, to the only show of its kind. We're here to solve problems, answer questions, take complaints. I got Dan McKenzie in with me, attorney at law. I haven't given his number out enough, but it's 833-CO Plans. Any questions you have on your estate or a trust or probate, anything you can imagine, he is here to answer your questions today. And one of the first calls we'll go is exactly that. But we have, real quick, I need to get to Matt with Paragon Services. He's one of the experts on a referral list at referrallist.com. And Matt, I'm going to ask you some really basic questions about a particular case we're working on here. And basically, for people out there, a public adjuster is someone that helps you fight with the insurance company. Matt, I want you to picture a claim put in that's over 2 years old. The original claim was put in. It's in a condo, so she doesn't have any control over the roof, with the exception she pays into the HOA. So the roof has been leaking for 2 years. It got really bad about 2.5 years ago. It rained so hard it flooded the whole place. The insurance did accept the claim for her policy for the condo, so basically the drywall or the cement out. So right now where it stands is they gutted the entire thing, Matt. And they can't rebuild yet. Remember the time frame we're talking about, 2.5 years. So she puts the claim in. They agree they're going to rebuild the whole thing because it flooded. They get down to where all the water's out of there. They're ready to start rebuilding. But the problem is water keeps coming in. It's coming in from the roof of the condo. And on top, to add insult to injury, she actually has somebody else that owns a unit above her. That unit is saturated as well, but we're not going to get into that part. But every time it rains, the water comes in, so she hasn't rebuilt. But her insurance company basically denied the mold claim 2.5 years later, and I can understand that. So let me ask you that right off the bat. Do you understand why the insurance company would deny the mold after 2.5 years coming in?
Yeah, I mean, typically they're going to say that that's been an ongoing issue and it should have been remedied. Now, if that was a house, that's a slam dunk. It's on the homeowner. But because this is a condo, the HOA is responsible for, taking care of that roof, that's got to be fixed before anything's done, obviously.
And they're not doing anything. That's where we're to the point where everybody, in a way, is throwing their arms up in the air. We've had one Deputy Dimitri, that's been trying to fix this thing forever, man, and they can't get the HOA to do anything. She actually hired someone. In fact, his name's Brian. He's still on, but he is a leak guy. That's all he does. He's a master plumber, but he started a company that goes out and figures out what's leaking. He got up there on the roof very recently and started spraying just water with a hose, and sure enough, it comes right down into her unit. But the HOA won't do a damn thing, and it's been 2.5 years. The other part with the insurance company I want to throw out there, Matt, is she's been trying to get her contents paid for. Who is the insurance company?
Farmers Insurance.
Farmers won't even cough up the money for the contents at this point.
Yeah, well, I can dig in and probably get this escalated, and we can talk about the timelines. Normally, 2 years is the magic number. Now, I can tell you this. Getting a lawyer involved will usually have 3 years to dispute. So we still got some wiggle room if we go that route. But I would need to just dig in and see what their intentions are, and do my best to get with the HOA and rattle their cage. I don't have a whole lot of clout because I don't represent the HOA, but I can sure go, call over there and see what's what, because this situation is not going to fix itself, period.
They simply declined to put a roof on or fix it. Forget about even putting it on. It's just, it seems crazy unless they're broke. And then if they are broke, I mean, that's not good for anybody.
Yeah, and another option, too, is we sometimes can get the primary carrier to cover everything, and then they subrogate and go after, the HOA's insurance company or whoever they have to get reimbursed. So that's an option, too.
I like the idea of putting him in touch. I mean, she's basically, what happens is she gives him power of attorney over this. He digs through it. He calls up Farmers, and he says, hey, man, you're not dealing with this poor woman anymore. You're dealing with me.
I think that's a great idea.
And the other thing is, too, where is she staying in the meantime?
Oh, man. So her insurance company rented her an apartment for 2 years.
They paid.
But that benefit just ran out a few months ago, so now she's paying for a rental.
So it sounds like Farmers is behaving, because if they were offering 2 years, that's a pretty good sign that they're just trying to do their best, but they're kind of stuck in this position, too.
I know.
Without the HOA cooperating.
Yeah, they're stuck in the rebuilding part of this project. However, she just recently made a claim for the mold infestation which developed in the meantime, and they told her to go pound sand. Can you take a look at that, too?
Well, she probably doesn't have much mold. Sorry to interrupt. She probably does not have mold coverage beyond maybe 5 or 10,000 anyway. But You're right. That's something that should be addressed. It's not your fault or her fault or anyone's fault, that other than the HOA, that unit's been sitting there and getting moldy. So that burden would fall on the HOA, in my opinion.
Yeah, but once again, we're hoping the fact they won't even repair this roof, and then the lady over her, that apartment is in horrible shape, man. In other words, with that leak detector guy, Brian, was in there. Hold on, let me bring him up real quick. Hey, Brian, you were in the apartment above her, condo above her yesterday. Is that right, or really recent?
That's correct, yes.
Listen to this, Matt. Go ahead, describe the apartment above her. I keep saying apartment, condo.
So Matt, thanks so much for listening. I was researching, because as a leak detective, I have to go through and evaluate every possible way water can get into a residence. And when I was inspecting the upstairs unit, it looks pretty clean. But when I popped the panel to gain access between her ceiling and the actual roof, I saw mold growth coming down the walls. So there's mold on the concrete behind the 2x4s and drywall in the upstairs residence. So she may not even know that she has mold growing behind her walls.
And what's crazy, Matt, is this apartment complex, it's just not a stick building. It's literally cement walls.
Right.
It's all cement. It's all concrete slabs. And Brian, it occurs to me that maybe the roof is only a part of the problem. We shouldn't discount the fact that the lady upstairs might have leaking plumbing, too, in addition to the roof leaks.
I looked into that and did not see any leaks in her plumbing.
Yeah, that's a great sign.
And I love the idea that, he went up onto the roof, started spraying with the hose, and boom, it's leaking. I mean, how do you possibly argue that being the HOA? Hey, Matt, would you do me a favor and get with Dimitri? In fact, Dimitri, why don't you put this together? And Brian, if you could go back out there and meet Matt, you guys might be able to help each other in the future for sure. But I would love for you guys to all reconvene at her house. And Matt, you go over the policy. I think you should do that first. Well, I'm not going to tell you what to do, Matt. You know what to do. But get involved and let's try to get this figured out for this woman.
I'm going to be at that meeting too. And so I'm going to start an email chain here in the next few minutes that's going to get all three of us. And I think as a result of, and I think that Kalia should hold off on her meeting with Brad O'Brien, the real estate lawyer, until we get the results of this meeting with Matt and Brian at her condo. What do you think?
I mean, it does, as long as this can happen somewhat quick. But here's what I'm afraid of. Someone's going to have to twist some arms to basically get the HOA to do the roof. I mean, really, that's what it comes down to. Because my understanding is, at this point, her insurance is going to pay for the rebuilding, right? They haven't squawked about that, nor have they given her any money for that, or have they?
No, they haven't given her any money for that.
So they haven't paid her a nickel yet.
Well, they did incur significant expense in getting everything torn out.
Yeah, but they paid the contractor directly. She didn't take the money.
That's right. That's correct. She hasn't pocketed it.
So, Matt, would you please look at everything? And then, Brian, we really appreciate you being a part of this. And Dimitri, send me his information too, Brian, for sure.
Yeah, I'll CC it.
Hey, Mark, real quick, is there a roofer involved in this already or no?
Is there what, sir?
Is there a roofer that's been involved in this at all?
Not that I know of. In fact, that's a great idea. Why don't you get a commercial one of your guys out there?
I think
he had a roofer come out. The HOA denied him access to the roof.
Oh, gee.
That's the bad sign.
Hey, Matt, you hear that?
I did. That's no bueno. Kind of sounds like they're broke.
That's what I've gone back to that same point 10 times, and if there's no money there, there's no money there.
Yeah, Mark, I did I drove around the complex a little bit. It's a large complex. There are probably a dozen buildings with 100 units or more.
Is it in Denver?
Yeah, it's right over there at Iliff and Parker. And it's like, the word dilapidated isn't the correct word, but it's kind of like the place has seen better days.
They're not putting any money into it.
Yeah, it looks like late 60s, early 70s, super cheap construction. And these are very value-priced, very affordable condominiums. And it just seems it's about to become seedy.
Yeah, it's like living in a rainforest. I mean, it's insane.
Which leads me to believe maybe they're broke.
You wonder what? Asbestos? Oh, geez, because of the year built. Very well could be.
Yeah. Yep, that's a problem, too.
That could be a big... Well, actually...
Where would the asbestos be, though?
Drywall.
Oh, the drywall's all gone.
No.
Yeah, but if it's soaking the drywall above it and coming back in, now you've got a spill again.
Yeah.
Is that an insurance claim in itself?
It is. Yeah.
Oh, okay, good. Hey, maybe the lady upstairs
on this one.
Maybe the lady upstairs can use your services too, Matt. I mean,
if she's got insurance.
Yep.
That's the other problem. Some of these people don't have insurance on these units. I mean, really, you describe these units as...
it's a little seedy.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that in an insulting way. It's just a technical observation about a place that has seen much better days.
Which means they have zero upkeep. They're not spending money on anything. Yeah. All right, guys, I gotta move on. Dimitri, stay on top of it. Matt with Paragon Services. By the way, if your insurance company's trying to screw you over, they owe you more money. That's where Matt gets involved. He makes sure he reads through that policy every single place to find out the most amount of money that insurance company needs to pay you. And he's done it twice for me. Matt, both times I've been denied by my insurance company. One time he got me close to $80,000. And then recently we're almost to the end of it. In fact, I still got him. Hey, Matt, how much am I going to get out of the second one? Do you have any idea?
I think we're going to be between 40 and 50.
Nice. That's exactly where we aim for.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's what I'm seeing.
Yeah, very cool, man. I appreciate it. 303-713-8255. 303 Martino. I promise, Larry, you're up. Numero uno, come hell or high water. I love the guys at Made in the Shade. Any window covering you need, these guys have. They can do just, old-fashioned drapes for that matter. They can do any kind of shades, room darkeners, shutters, awnings, anything that covers a window. They have very high-tech stuff, too, that you can operate over an app. They have zero-tech stuff, very basic, maybe a fix and flip or you got a rental unit, and they got stuff in between. They have a wide range of different products and prices, but they have something for everyone, and my favorite part is they come out, they help you pick everything out, and they do all the measuring, all the installation, and they're cheaper than these other companies that make you do all the work, and I'm not kidding. Multiple people here at the show have used them. Really good people, really good pricing. I want you to give them a call for that free estimate right now. 720-458-6566. 720-458-6566. ZeroResDenver.com. These guys use empowered water. They call it Z water. No soaps, solvents, or emulsifiers. They clean your carpet, hot water extraction. They do it the right way. Their equipment's great and knows how to clean the carpet. What I really love is you don't get that wicking days later. We've all had our carpets cleaned and you think that spot's gone for good, but sure enough, a week later you see that same spot again. Not with Zero Res. Right now, listen to this. Right now, $33 per room for the first 3 rooms. That is a killer deal. $33 per room or per area for the first 3 rooms. Call for any details, but these are the guys. They also do granite cleaning and tile and grout cleaning and mattress cleaning, upholsteries, area rugs. They even do duct cleaning. You get the idea. Commercial services as well. ZeroResDenver.com or 303-471-5150. Yeah. Oh, with his car right there? Oh, okay. We can free Brian up. Just make sure we have all the info. Kelly. Yeah, it's really crazy news when I tell you, Suzanne.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, you're leaving me.
No, it's pretty much everything he was talking about. I'm sure he's going to be solo for quite a while. Oh, shoot. You meant right now. How long do I have? Okay.
What are you doing?
Help the guy next door.
Hurry. I don't need anybody visiting.
That's right.
Yes, Scott and Dimitri will be taking the show over.
Dan, do you remember like when you showed me how to make the squiggly sign?
Yeah.
I was about to start suing a bunch of
Yep.
Dexters.
Yes.
You're not going to believe this. You thought I was a nut. One of my cases is now in federal court. It's a class action lawsuit that a big class action specialist firm out of Texas is handling.
Yeah.
And I am the class representative.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Dude.
Did they call you or something like that?
No, I called them. I watched an interview. So I've been following a bunch of the really top lawyers on the defense bar side of this issue, right? Because I can learn a lot from them.
Yep.
And one of them interviewed this class action plaintiff's lawyer. Yeah. And they kept referring to him as the baby shark. I thought it's a sign of, it's an honorable title, right?
Yeah.
It would have been cooler if he was like the Rabid Godzilla or something. Right. Or at least the dreaded baby shark. Right. So I emailed the guy the next day and I said, here's what I have in mind. Here's a good defendant. Here's what I'm thinking about suing. Do you see any value to this case? And if so, are you interested? And he called me. And it's like the first YouTube celebrity that I ever talked to. And he called me, and we had like about an hour and a half discussion about this. And he said, hey, we're very interested in taking this on. Let me tell you, he explained to me what being the class representative means and all that stuff. And I was like, fine, great. And by the way, it's at no cost to me. Not a penny. I'm not at risk.
Good.
Yeah. So I logged into my Pacer account, did a keyword search for my name, and there it is.
It's been filed?
Oh, it was filed December 2nd.
Okay.
And it was served January 3rd.
Okay. Good.
You know, the summons was issued on the 13th, and then it was served on the 2nd.
And who's the defendant?
There's several of them. It turns out it's more than one company. One of them is called, the main defendant is called Genesis Gold Group.
Okay.
And then there's another defendant called Prepper Bar. I think there's
January 18th.
You thought it was a nutcase.
Doing it on your own is quite ambitious. But yeah, class.
Oh, I was just going to take it to county court.
Yeah.
Right? But he wrote up everything and filed it, and so now I'm in the class.
Trajan Wealth, your trusted local fiduciary advisors. TrajanWealth.com.
All right, 303-713-8255. You've been ripped off or taken advantage of. I want to hear from you. We got some lines open. Any questions for our guest, Dan McKenzie, too? Would be a good time to do it. And as promised, I'm going to go to Larry. First of all, Larry, I appreciate you holding so long. What question do you have for Dan?
That's okay. Thank you, Dan and Mark, for being there. When my uncle died, he left his IRA to his trust. His trust inherited his IRA. And the lawyer said that was absolutely not the thing to do because it was immediately taxable. And so I missed part of your conversation this morning because I was headed for a doctor appointment. But I didn't know if you covered that aspect of what not put in a trust.
Yeah, you do have to be careful with IRAs going to trust because there are rules requiring you to pull those funds out within a certain period of time. When you inherit somebody else's IRA, generally, there are always some exceptions, but generally you have about 10 years to pull that money out. And as you do it, you're going to be declaring it as income, unlike everything else, right? So if I get proceeds from the sale of a house or bank or whatever else, that's not income.
Well, wouldn't that be? Well, I'm sorry, Larry. I'm sorry, Larry, but just for other people listening and for myself. So if it is a 10-year window, in that 10 years, when you're pulling money out of, say, a 401k, it's basically being taxed just like it would be if it was the actual original beneficiary, right? The person that died. In other words, it's not a bigger tax burden. It's still going to be deferred.
It's at the income tax rate of the person who's receiving it.
Oh, okay. Okay. So I got you.
Yeah.
It could be more, or it could be less for that matter.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead, Larry.
The IRS says that a trust is not a human entity, and therefore, if a trust inherits an IRA or a 401k, it is immediately taxable at the current tax rate of whatever applies under that situation. I know my uncle's estate had to immediately pay about $35,000 income tax on the IRA because it was left to the trust. The 10-year payout and those tax benefits do not apply to trusts.
Yeah. I mean, an entity receiving an IRA, it can be crunched down to 5 years, and then there are ways to leave money to trust if you put what's called conduit provisions in there, just saying the trustee's role here is to just take the money out as they're required to do and immediately shoot it out to the beneficiaries. So there are ways to have the money go to trust and still get that 10-year benefit, but it does have to be drafted specifically that way.
But why would someone want to do that? In other words, why would someone want to do that instead of just naming a beneficiary or multiple ones? Is there ever a time where someone would want to do it? And if so, why?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm leaving, so if my beneficiary is 5, I really am not going to leave them directly as the beneficiary. And there still could be some benefit to say, look, that 10-year is a maximum. Anybody who receives an IRA can pull it all out immediately, and I might want my trustee to kind of take full advantage of those 10 years, right?
What happens if they weren't at retirement age and they would have paid some kind of penalty for accessing the 401k or the IRA money? would the beneficiary or the trust, the estate, would they end up actually paying those fees or not?
No, they have to take it, and the IRS wants them to. So there's no penalty. You have to take it.
Okay.
Right? But yeah, if you take your own IRA early, of course, there's going to be penalties.
So, Larry, it sounds like you might have missed part of the conversation, but you're kind of on a different wave, if I'm hearing you right.
Well, it's just that the lawyer and that distributed his IRA, and it was a pretty good-sized lawyer for legal firm, and they said that it was a big mistake for the trust to inherit an IRA because taxes were immediately due, because a trust is not a human entity. A human would have the 10-year benefit for,
Yeah, and I don't want to beat a dead horse, but he went through that. There's certain things I believe you called a conduit that certain things that could be in the trust.
If the IRS can tell who the human beneficiary is of that trust, it is possible.
So it sounds like in his case, or your brother's case, Larry, it simply wasn't written correctly.
Well, I'm sure that, his trust was left to 22 nieces and nephews. He didn't have any other relatives. And so, it was well defined as to where the money from the trust was going to go.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just that the trust had to immediately pay the taxes on the IRA because the trust was not a benefit of these 10-year.
A couple things here. When you're talking 22 people, or a large amount of people, Dan, and we are talking about a trust and some kind of retirement, I would assume they would all want the money right then and there. I mean, they're not going to want it, even if they could stretch it out 5 or 10 years. I mean, how do you divvy something up? You're not going to list. Can you list 22 beneficiaries on a 401k with Schwab or something? I mean,
that's up to Schwab. I don't know. But these are challenges when you got that many beneficiaries.
How would you have written it in the case he's talking about?
Oof. I guess it depends on the age of those nieces and nephews. Are there minors in there? Are they all adults?
Yeah, Larry, give us a little more.
Okay, probably the youngest is probably 62.
God dang!
Okay.
And the oldest was 92.
Okay.
Wow.
Well, then, I probably would have just said to Schwab, here's who to leave this to, and gone directly to those people.
He always kept his beneficiary list up to date. Boy, if anybody died, he changed the whole thing right then and there.
Yeah.
So the beneficiaries of his trust were very fixed and up to date always.
Yeah. Well, apparently it just wasn't written right, or at least not to what, you guys wanted. But I guess I also don't understand, Larry, what the difference would be, because if everybody wanted access to their amount, they would ultimately have to pay the taxes on it. It'd be the same taxes, and then it wouldn't just sit there. I mean, really, what else would have happened besides liquidating it and everybody paying their fair share of taxes on it?
Well, I don't know. It's just that the letter that the lawyer said that there was a big mistake. His CPA made the mistake of having him put the IRA into the trust.
Yeah.
And that was a mistake because taxes were immediately due because the trust is not a human entity.
Yeah, the problem is that trust tax rates are the same percentages, but they're compressed. So a individual hits the highest tax bracket at $250,000.
And a state doesn't
a
have.
Trust hits the highest tax bracket at about $13,000. So you're paying the highest tax rate if you're paying through the trust.
Yeah, and the IRA was about $1.5 million, so that was quite a
big difference.
Tax hit.
Wow, that kind of sucks that it happened that way, but that's it. Hey, Larry, I appreciate the call, man.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
You're welcome. I like that guy. You're like me. I'm sitting here thinking nieces and nephews. They're
Yeah,
like
kids.
Yeah, 4 years to maybe 18.
Not 92.
when he led with the youngest is 60, I was like, holy moly. All right, we got lines open. 303-713-8255. 303 Martino. You've been ripped off, taken advantage of. You have any questions for Dan McKenzie? A lot to come. Hold tight. All right, two.
It's kind of surprised.
Boy, it could get real complicated, too, like in these fires. You know, there's attorneys like you out there where, you know, that house is in probate or there's weird things going on and then it burns to the ground. Now you got to deal with insurance companies. I mean, that's got to be a complete nightmare.
Extreme winds for total.
It's unbelievable that many people have no place to go. I mean, it's like a third world nation. It's crazy. It's sad. Gravina, you've heard the commercials before. Here's what I love about Nick Gravina. He is on top of the ship. He's at the helm, and he has multiple brands of siding, luxurious replacement entry doors, French doors, sliders, you name it when it comes to doors. But his windows, listen to this, 50 lines of windows. And by 20 different manufacturers. It doesn't matter what the budget is. He's going to have the right window for you. These guys have been around for a long, long time. He took it over for his father, Larry, who basically worked for his dad. You get the idea. It's been around. It's that heritage that matters with these guys. 303-472-8462. Really have them out. If you've been thinking about windows or siding or new doors, make that house look beautiful. Give these guys a call. Have them out. You're going to love the way they talk to you. You're going to love all the different options, and they can just help you. 303-472-8462, GravinaWindows.com. Man, can you imagine that, though? Just waking up and your house is gone. Everything's gone.
Everything.
All your memories are gone. Your dog's gone. I mean, everything's gone. It's crazy.
Talking about the fires. I was thinking maybe we should host a family, but I think that gets complicated.
Yeah, that's a whole different thing.
A whole,
I don't want to go down that
worry
road.
about people not wanting to leave.
The first thing I thought about's that.
Yeah, it's like all this. After I mentioned it to you last night, I was cleaning the kitchen thinking about all the ramifications. And it's like, God.
Well, and here's the real
They don't make it easy.
Here's the real deal. I mean, most of them work out there. They're not going to commute.
Yeah, I was thinking like an older couple, somebody who's trying to get out of California, but then we're always so happy when our kids are out of our freaking space.
Well, remember, if they have insurance, I mean, it's paid.
Yeah. Yeah, but, I get you. It does get complicated when you think about it, really.
And there is people gouging out there. They had one they showed on Zillow, I think. It was a rental that was going for $16,000 a month 3 weeks ago, and now $32,000.
Oh, yeah. I totally believe that.
And they're not allowed to do that there.
Right.
California has laws, literally, you cannot do that during an emergency. It'll be curious if they go after people doing that.
They should.
Yeah, double. Can you? I was shocked that rent at $16,000 a month.
Yeah.
I'm going, where are they staying in a small building?
Dan, you ever think about branching out into class action suits like that? It's good money.
Oh, that's what I did for the first 10 years out of law school, actually.
Oh.
What was it?
Class action lawsuits.
What kind of cases were they?
Consumer fraud. So, yeah, you're right in my wheelhouse.
Hey, I got like 3 more defendants. I have 3 more different cases brewing in my mind.
I don't do it anymore.
You don't want to diversify a little
No,
bit? Dude, there's
I
good
deliberately
money
left
for
that.
both of us. And I'm a great plaintiff.
Yeah, you'd be good. You'd be good.
I'll even get I'll even get a powdered wig if you want me to. No, seriously, I have the backlog.
Funny.
No.
And I'm very easy to work with. I don't bug my lawyers. I don't email them. I just wait to hear from them. I'm very patient.
I can direct you to the people.
Really?
Yeah. No.
Here locally?
Oh, yeah.
I would love to get, because I have like 3 great cases. One of them is...
It's like I got 3 ideas for a movie. You've got it here.
One of them, Dan, is Verizon.
Mm-hmm. You probably, I mean, the problem is you probably have an arbitration clause with them.
Oh, no, not in this case. I bought a phone from one of their stores, which turned out to be operated by a place called Cellular Plus.
Yeah.
There's no arbitration clause in any of my sales documents. And I've got a great case that's based on their violation of the Colorado Consumer Protection Act.
Yeah.
Treble damages and all the lawyer bills. They have to pay for all of that. And so they're going to be one of the 2 co-defendants. Verizon is the second one because they have vicarious responsibility.
Look, you spend maybe 30 minutes. That's all you got, right? That's it.
Oh, I'm not minimizing the amount of work the lawyer has to do.
Yeah.
Believe me, I have the easiest job, which is creating this wonderful idea.
Right.
And creating tons of value out of nothing.
God, I've always wanted to build a 100-story hotel.
So I'm not minimizing what the lawyers have to do.
Yeah,
Plus,
that's hard.
Plus, I'd be willing to, pay the filing fee. I could split some of those costs. $500.
Online at khout.com.
All right, folks, 303-713-8255. If you don't listen to the behind-the-scenes stuff, you're crazy. So, I mean, honestly, some days are a little different than others, but it's nuts. Hey, Dan, I want to ask you something. Dan McKenzie Law. So the average person going to get, I don't even know what average is anymore because some people have kids, some people don't. I mean, there's so many different things now. I guess there is no average. But let me ask you this. Would you say most people need a trust if they own a house, they have a few cars, they have kids, they have bank accounts, they have jobs? I mean, I just described the majority of our population. Do most people need a trust? I'm pretty sure I remember you saying if you have children that are under the age of 18, you most likely should have a trust.
Well, there's got to be a trust to receive the money for them, right? So it doesn't mean you need to create a trust right now, but they cannot receive money. If they are receiving checks, if they receive $1 million, if your 5-year-old is going to get $1 million check from a life insurance company, where is it going to be put?
Yeah, who's going to get it? Who's going to be in charge of it?
Yeah, so either a court needs to appoint an adult to be put in charge of that money, or you create that by creating the trust that will receive those funds.
Have you seen people that an 18-year-old has gotten a large amount of money because the parents passed away, and it's just completely squandered fast?
Most people squander it, right? I mean, 50-year-olds who have had jobs their entire lives and have never really had a ton of disposable income, they spend it.
They just don't know. Really, they don't know how to manage money.
It feels like found money, so it's just like, I've got 6 figures here. What harm is it in buying a car? Remodeling my kitchen.
Yeah.
Going and getting the ocean view room at the hotel instead of the, ground. So it's just stuff like that over a couple of years, and it's gone.
How many people do you get? Guillermo, I'll go to you in a minute. By the way, we got some lines open, 303-713-8255. How many calls were basically you're more of the, not just the estate planner, but the asset protection? Let's get into that. I mean, is a big chunk of your job when it comes to clients that have a high net worth, is it the asset protection part? Is that a big part of it?
It takes us back to the irrevocable trust question, which is why would you want to create an irrevocable trust if you could create a revocable trust that you can just change? Well, the irrevocable trust really is getting the asset out of your name. And so you really can tell people if they sue you, I don't own that thing anymore. It's an irrevocable trust. So
That's
there's a
asset
lot of limits
protection.
on those. Yes, I mean they're hard to do. They should be. You know, you might be the one that gets hit by the car, and you want to sue this person. You don't want them telling you I don't have anything because it's all in a trust that I created, and that I'm the beneficiary of. So
yeah, you could be on the other side.
Yeah, you could be on the other side.
But that's part of your job, though, is asset protection.
Sure. Yep.
Is that a big part of it?
I mean, it depends on who you're talking about. So asset protection for the people creating the plan, that's the hard part. If I'm trying to get my own assets out of my name to avoid having to pay them out in a lawsuit, that is challenging, and that is an area of specialization. So we work with other people on that. So we do it, but we do usually bring in other people.
Isn't there some offshore stuff people can do?
Yeah.
Is that a big thing? And I mean, now we're talking people hundreds of millions of dollars.
Not necessarily. Because
Really?
if you have hundreds of millions of dollars, do you really care about getting sued? I mean, you know, you could write a $5 million check and not even feel it.
That's a good point.
So, but if you have $2 million, and now you're a good target, and yet you don't have enough money to just be like, I could lose this lawsuit, I don't care.
Wow.
So people who have a lot less, like enough to be interesting, but not so much that they're less like, I don't care about getting sued.
What do you think that limit is on an umbrella? So let's take that $2 million mark you were just talking.
Right.
So somebody that's got $2-3 million, they have really no debt. They literally have that in assets, house paid for, money in the bank, stocks, retirement accounts, whatever.
Yeah.
Should they have an umbrella? At some point, it doesn't make any sense to have an umbrella. Just like we were talking that $100 million. You're not going to go out and get an umbrella for $100 million. It would cost you, first of all, you probably couldn't get it. But what are your thoughts on people like that? Because there's a lot of people like that.
Like what?
$2 million, $3 million.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, we're not talking 30 years ago where $1 million was massive.
No. I'm always in favor of umbrella and maximizing your insurance. But insurance, I mean, it has gaps, right? There's caps on it. There's limitations. The insurance companies draft those agreements. They're trying to not pay out. And, you know, that usually covers injury situations, not like breach of contract or, you know, other kind of situations you get involved in that don't really involve injuries.
You know, people filing their own probate. We talked about this. We had a caller. It was either last week or this week. The days run together, but she owned a house and had some money in a bank account and basically wanted to do probate herself. I think her mom passed away, had the house in the bank account. And one of the big problems with that is if you don't do it right, when you try to reach out to the creditors and post stuff in the newspaper or whatever you're supposed to do these days, you could become personally liable if there was a creditor out there.
Right.
And that would be huge. I mean, they can come after you directly, right?
Yeah. If you shoot the money out and didn't do the notifications correctly, they're going to say, go get that money back.
How much time do they have to come after you?
It depends on if you notified them correctly. I mean, if you didn't do it correctly, who knows?
Yeah, that's okay.
No limit, right?
That's insane.
Yeah. I mean, typically you have a year from date of death to make a claim, right? So if they have not made a claim for it, it's been more than a year since the person passed away. At that point, you're probably safe.
How come credit card companies, or tell me if this is a fallacy, most credit card companies don't come after the estate. So let's say Joe Blow passes away. He's got a Visa with Wells Fargo that's got $2,000 on it. He's got something else, a Kohl's card that's got $500. Is it just not worth the money, or do they come after it?
I mean, we see a lot of claims submitted by credit card companies, but the question is, like, if you get to a point where, look, I'm ready to distribute money here, but I've got this claim sitting there I got to deal with. If you call the credit card company, are they really going to say, you got to pay this whole thing? And
so
if
you
say,
negotiate.
Yeah, you might negotiate. You might deny the claim and just see if they really have the time and resources. You'd think these enormous credit card companies do, but are they going to go to a hearing in Douglas County, Colorado,
for
to
$500
try and get their their $10,000?
They'd be crazy to.
Yeah.
In fact, a lot of the small claims cases I do, they're very valid. At least to me, they're very valid. But the reason I end up winning before we even walk into court is they have to, first of all, petition the court in order to bring an attorney in.
Yep.
And then they have to bring an outside attorney in generally because they're, located in California. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I don't care if you're fresh out of law school. You're not going to show up in small claims court for less than $1,000 or $2,000. You'd be crazy to.
Yeah.
So they end up going, oh, okay, he wants $800. We'll give him $800. I mean, that's just kind of how the world works right now.
Yeah.
And it's kind of nutso, man. But to think with probate, do a lot of people come to you after the fact where maybe a creditor is coming after him? Is that a call you take, or you're out of it at that point?
Yeah, I'd probably refer them to a litigator at that point. Yeah, it's hard. I mean, the issue is they don't close the estate. You got to close the estate. You got to tell the court, I really took care of the creditor claims.
Yeah.
And if you didn't, you better not say that.
Yeah, because you're lying to the court.
Yeah.
All right, hold on, Guillermo. Am I saying that right? It looks like
Guillermo.
We're going to come to you after this. Guillermo. L's are silent or no?
They're kind of like yee sound.
Guillermo. Guillermo.
L's are like yee. Like yee. Dan, I'll email you a request for those references. Or referrals.
Okay. Yeah.
And I promise I won't embarrass you.
Nope.
I'm not going to tell about my powdered wig that I want to wear for it. I'm not going to call it a squiggly. So,
I still think you guys should team up.
that's what I'm saying.
I don't have the research. I mean, it's a huge, to do a class action. Yeah, from your perspective, it's no big deal.
But I'll help.
You got to.
I can take
He's a great witness.
Tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of pages of discovery.
VesteraTurnkey.com. You ever want to invest in real estate? Here's a great way to do it with very little knowledge of it, and the track record with Barry and his gang is unbelievable. They go out and they find an economy somewhere in the country that's booming. Maybe Microsoft's going to open an office there, or maybe Tesla. You get the idea. It's a place where jobs are coming to and there's growth. They find that market first. Then they find the right house within your budget. You buy it. You own it. They'll manage it. They'll find a management company to do it for you, and they're going to take care of it. You'll get that rent check every single month. Then as the house appreciates, the value goes up, and guess what? Then you can sell it. You can sell it anytime you want. And when you sell it, that's when you put the big bucks in there. Then you do it all over again. VesteraTurnkey.com. Go to that website. Give Barry a call. Check it out. They can help you even roll over different commercial properties you have. Maybe you don't want to pay taxes on them. They can help you through all of that, and more importantly, help you make money. VesteraTurnkey.com. Now, Sheridan Auto Tech. Uncle Kevin, you realize he's worked on everything from one of my old buses. We had this big RV, had a 10-cylinder Ford chassis. We had some problems with coils. He knocked those out. He's helped with electrical issues on one of our vehicles, and he can do oil changes. He can do all the basic maintenance, and he does them for a great price. He can do alignments. He can also do engines. He can do transmissions. He can do brake jobs, alternators, and he's got a 3-year, 36,000-mile nationwide warranty on everything they touch. He's a great guy. The shop's been around for hours. Uncle Kevin will be in this Friday like always. You want the best. Forget about the rest. Go to SheridanAutotech.com. John Fuller did you ever do any criminal at all?
No.
He said it was just brutal, man. He got out of that fairly quick.
Yeah.
Our daughter, she worked for that, what's the main guy up in Wyoming? Bigwig. He's like in his 90s now. But
what is his name?
The one who sued.
Yes.
One of the best.
Penthouse and.
Yeah, what is his name?
Jerry Spence.
Yes.
She worked for Jerry Spence.
She worked in his office.
Interned for a break. I don't know, it was a year ago too, but she said it was absolutely crazy. She didn't like the criminal. Then she worked for the DA's office, and she was working for the free attorney, if you will. What is that referred to as? The public defender's office. And most of it was like child abuse. You know, it wasn't a guy being, accused of robbing a liquor store. It was a guy being accused of screwing his kid.
Or molesting his granddaughter.
And she was just like, I just can't do this.
Yeah.
It kind of changed her, didn't it?
Yeah, a little bit. She was like, whoa.
Dan, why did you get out of these big class action?
I just, combativeness. Didn't like it.
Between whom and whom?
Everybody.
I mean, everybody. The most, yes, for sure. Everybody's unhappy. I mean, you're happy to be a class rep.
Ecstatic.
Most people don't.
And it's like a really contagious exuberance.
Yeah.
Until you do it a while and hate it. It's like, I'm sure football's great till that 7th concussion.
So you sit through that 7-hour deposition for your $50 or whatever you're trying to get back. Yeah. It's an acquired taste. It's a lawsuit. You're
YouTube Todd says, did Mark say that Sheridan Auto Tech has been around for hours? I said, LOL, maybe.
Like, literally the best lawyers in the world.
Look, Sheridan Auto Tech, they've been around for at least 6 hours.
They're going to...
Did he say hours?
I wasn't.
There's no way I said hours. I don't even know where I'd say it.
But I haven't done anything like
Oh, they'll find something.
Who knows? Today, maybe I did say it.
Sometimes you make little missteps like that. It's not a big deal.
So I was driving here yesterday. You were at home because Luis was coming out. And I'm behind this car at the outlet malls. You know how they have the stoplight, so getting on I-25, you got to wait. So I'm kind of behind this car, but she's over there. And her bumper sticker says, I love shrooms. And I'm thinking, I love shrooms. What does this person look like? So I had to, at some point, get up next to this person. And I already said girl. It was a girl, but I was dying to know at this time, like,
was it like a 90-year-old woman?
Is it a 70-year-old hippie? Is it a 18-year-old guy? Is it a 25-year-old woman? What are we talking about? It turned out to be, I would guess, a 35-year-old woman, white chick. The car was like, it's probably 10 years old. And I'm just thinking, who drives around? To me, it's like having a bumper sticker saying, I love crack. I mean, I just don't see the difference. I mean, even if you like mushrooms, why the hell are you advertising to other drivers you love mushrooms?
Well, remember I wanted to make my license plate IPA girl, and you were like, oh, yeah, that's not opening yourself up for...
Yeah, if I was a cop, I'm not going to pull you over.
Hey,
Drunk guy.
Mark, have you ever gotten alignment on the Tesla? We haven't, have we? YouTubie's asking.
Gotten a what?
Alignment on the Tesla?
No.
Do you know where you would get one?
His revenge is going to be success.
On Denver's talk station, 630 KHOW.
All right, 303-713-8255. We're up against the hard break, but I want to at least start out with this one. Guillermo, what is going on with you?
Hey, good afternoon. Thank you for taking my call. This is more like kind of like a follow-up or more like a guidance. A couple months ago, I had an issue with it's been longer than that, but the last touch that we did was on October 22nd.
What was the initial problem? Help me out with that.
Oh, yeah, of course. I hired him to replace my roof.
Yeah, who's him?
After, talking Josh Sandoval.
Gosh.
Sandoval, who's using some other roofing company's contract.
Yeah, okay. I remember this one. So basically, what was the problem with your roof? A hailstorm or what?
A hailstorm, yep. And then basically I gave him a $5,000 check for materials. Never provided receipts, nor
he never did anything, did he?
Never did anything. And then on October 22nd, to take the heat off of him, he told you guys that he's going to be basically paying me $500 payments every 2 weeks. I waited for like a month and never heard back from him, and never received another check or anything.
Nothing.
So he still owes me $4,500. I submitted the paperwork to take him to court, and we have court on January 31st, which is in 3 weeks.
You know what he's going to do?
Wanted to get my probably counter.
Nice.
Or try to countersue me or something.
I don't know what he'd countersue you for. I mean, the guy took $5,000. How long ago was that again? How long ago did you give him the $5,000?
On July 2nd.
Yeah, I mean, that's a long time ago. What are we talking there? 8 months?
Yeah, but he's taking him to court now. That's a good sign.
It's a great sign, but I mean, I don't see a counterclaim. I see the guy not showing up. To me, he sounds like a bum.
Yeah, totally is. I just wanted to know, I guess some guidance. I've never really done this before, so I have the paperwork.
Okay, I love it. So hold on. I'll talk to you. I can give you. I'm not going to give you legal advice, but I have brought so many people to small claims court at this point It's crazy. I know where the paperwork is that you can fill out and the instructions. And, of course, Dan McKenzie, attorney at law, can chime in with some legal advice if he wants to. Everybody hang tight. We got one more hour to go. I got 3 lines open. 303 Martino. It's been a slow day. I want to hear from you.
Hey, Broncos.
Savvy said my face was priceless at your diction.
My diction's perfect, Savvy.
Guillermo. Guillermo.
I didn't say it that way.
How'd you say it? Say it.
Let me look at it again. Guillermo.
Guillermo.
Yeah.
Guillermo.
Say it again. Somebody other than you.
Guillermo.
Guillermo.
Thank you, Dimitri. Validation.
Okay, tell me why there's an L in there.
It's
just tell me why.
Sure, his.
In other countries.
Okay, where are we?
Well,
how would they? Okay, you're from Russia. How would you pronounce that in Russian?
Guillermo.
Oh, you ass! You ass!
Guillermo.
Nicole P. Mark.
Guillermo speak.
Mark. Nicole P. on YouTube spelled it out. Mo.
Oh, well, here, just change it to phonetics.
Guillermo. Okay.
Mo. There.
Don't say Guillermo.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Guillermo.
If you win,
now, how would you spell Guy? Probably
she spelled it G-E-E.
Yeah, Guillermo. There you go.
Guillermo.
Thank you.
There. Thanks, Nicole P. So helpful.
It made it harder to get classes certified than it used to be.
That's awesome.
But this one might be.
I might have done the show that day when that guy said he was going to pay.
Seems to be pretty clear. This was the fax thing, right? So receiving fax.
The junk text. Yeah.
Yeah.
The TCPA.
Yeah, so you don't necessarily have to worry about people suffering damages that are different from one another. It's often the hard.
Miles texted me.
Did he give you an idea?
Yeah, he's like, just giving you an update. I told Dad.
Yeah, he's
might be straightforward.
That's basically his baby for a while.
I said, Dad and I are learning pickleball. Had our first lesson yesterday. I'm ready to go pro. LOL. This empty nest life. And he's like, oh my God, too funny.
He's like, what the hell's pickleball?
You're going to play it with us when you come home.
I do not see pickleball on FanDuel.
Looking forward to researching the.
You're home visiting. Miles. He didn't stop sharing his location, by the way. It's still there. It must have just paused up when he got his Apple Watch or something.
Oh.
So.
I was reading most people over 25 still share that info with their parents.
Well,
Isn't that crazy?
It's like he's out there all alone for the most part.
Well, even Addie. I mean, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. So he doesn't have to, but I'm glad he does.
And it sounds so useless. It sounds tremendously useless. And,
did you have an update?
And I mentioned that to him.
Yes, an $11,000 update.
Geez, Scott, you got to tell me, brother.
Speak up, bro.
Yeah, just jump in, man.
You have to talk about it. I don't know if you want to say who it was. It was a referral list member of ours that he helped.
Cool.
But
RC Center,
RP Center of America.
RP Centers
of Colorado.
Of Colorado. But yeah, you should. That's awesome.
Is this finally over, Dragon, do you know, with Hagseth? Or is he still getting drilled or what?
Yeah,
drilled and grilled.
Is it?
Fiduciary responsibility to the class.
I won't mention the business.
Another hour to go.
And so it can't be beaten.
Yeah. Because they used to like walk into the deposition with a check saying, here's $5,000.
Not going to happen. In my case.
Savvy, I did
Yeah, well.
I was doing KOA late night way back in the day.
Not in Spanish, though.
Not in Spanish. But I was reading this article about the Aboriginals. In Africa. So for about 45 minutes of my first hour, I'm referring to the Aboriginals as the Aboriginals. And finally, this old lady calls up. I mean, I had full lines. We were having a great conversation, and
she must have been.
Finally, this lady calls up. She just can't stop laughing when I pick up the line. She goes, "Are you doing that on purpose?" I said, "Doing what on purpose?"
Were you embarrassed?
She goes, "The Aboriginals." She goes, you mean the Aboriginals?
Were you embarrassed? Because you don't embarrass easily. So were you embarrassed?
Not when I'm on air, it's hard to get embarrassed because you're just in a zone, but afterwards, I was like, son of a
It's
bitch.
like when you said Daniel, when it was Danielle or something like that.
Yeah, but a lot of times that can be the board op putting the wrong thing.
Yeah.
I mean, Dragon, he doesn't know how to spell.
Correct.
What's Kelly spelling?
Oh my God! Remember the worst, Daphne. God bless her.
Holy
I love
cow,
her.
yeah.
She would write a word. Well, she's like me. I'm horrible.
Yeah.
Have you ever typed the word, Dan, that it's so bad spell check has no clue what you're trying to do?
It doesn't even mark it red.
So you gotta go guess again.
Yeah, it thinks it's a password you're typing in.
Dimitri, Mark's spelling is so bad, his Google auto-corrects when he spells right.
Wow.
Like the word because. He always spells it with Becouse. So if he spells it right, it tries to make it how he spells it.
Now that I spell it right, it literally thinks it's wrong. I swear to God.
That can't be right.
It's so true.
Absolutely
So
true.
true.
Only in my texting.
Yeah. No, it did an email too.
Does it? I'll try
I
it
don't
right
know.
From your
Maybe it
phone.
only is texting.
Yeah, it's from the phone.
Right.
God bless.
Why, does yours do that?
Yeah, it does like the favorite words or whatever. So
That's what it is.
yeah.
So literally, if there's certain words, if I spell right, it'll underline like they're wrong. And then it'll give me an alternate spelling of my incorrect spelling. And then I'm so confused, I don't remember which is which.
That's counter useless.
Mark, you got problems.
God bless.
Okay, go to
That's that new I always say it. It's that New Jersey GED that comes out occasionally.
Yes, it does. Oh, and Mark, do a house spot. You might want to do Wave 8 or something. I don't know.
I'll do Wave 8.
Yeah, did you get their script?
Thanks for the information. It's really fun.
Yeah.
Guillermo.
Insider.
Yeah.
I love the fact you guys are teaming up.
We're not.
Dan's like, let me make this clear.
Can I get a desk in your office?
He'll give you hourly updates.
Like, look how else I got screwed. Look at this.
Betty Smith got a fax the other day from this lady. Unsolicited fax, Dan. Can you believe it? That could be $12.
Yeah, I'm thinking about buying a fax machine now.
Yeah.
To get unsolicited faxes.
You need to solicit. Go out and solicit for unsolicited faxes.
Can they get a phone number? 1-800-FAX-ME?
Oh, my God. I double dog dare you to fax me at 303.
So I did read a bunch of these cases. They're called manufactured harm. And,
10 seconds, guys.
The plaintiffs were ordered to pay the defense.
That's money. Enter it now at khow.com. Keep listening to win on 630 KHOW.
Ripped off, bad news. You need advice so you don't have to lose. We'll come running just as fast as we can. Troubleshooter's gonna help the common man.
This is the Troubleshooter Show. Now, Tom Martino.
Welcome, my friends, to the only show of its kind. We're here to solve problems, answer questions, take complaints. You have to listen to the show behind the show on YouTube. Go to YouTube. You can do it all the time. You can do it at night, whenever. A lot of people watch the show afterwards. It doesn't matter if it's on the iHeart app. There's a lot of people that just listen to the show, either the podcast, the iHeart app, live, or 630 KHOW. KRDO's got numerous FM and AMs down in around from Pueblo to Colorado Springs and Monument. Lots of ways to listen to the show, but the only way to listen and get the behind-the-scenes stuff during commercial breaks is YouTube. You can also see our beautiful faces. You could see my guest Dan McKenzie's face. He is basically the attorney at 833 CO Plans. That's the phone number. But he's an estate planner. But you could see his face when Deputy Dimitri asked him if he was interested in partnering into, what is it, Dimitri, a cell phone thing?
Class action suits.
A class action cell phone? What was it?
Just some normal, regular consumer-related issues, and a couple of rip-offs that I've been subjected to.
Yeah, I know.
And
You
others
take this stuff very seriously.
Yeah, I do, and especially since there are so many others who are similarly situated. So I just want somebody to stand up for us regular consumers.
And I think it would be a marriage made in heaven.
Dear.
See, I think what happens is attorneys are funny. Tom and I sued a company. This wasn't that long ago. It was during COVID. And we had to, oh my God, I had no idea. Once you start getting billed hourly, you really start realizing how hard. This was an intellectual property case. And we were 150 grand in, probably within 6 or 7 months. 6 or 7 months, and get ready for this, we didn't even go through discovery yet. Can you believe that, Dan? Dan's like, that's incredible. Yeah, it's incredible. So, I mean, the dollar amounts, and that's not what I was talking about, was the dollar amount. What I'm talking about is the labor. Just the depositions. We probably deposed, I want to say 20 people, and each one, oh my God, I had no idea because both attorneys go. I mean, the depositions were crazy. I mean, maybe 3 to 5 hours, depending on who it was. I mean, just getting through that was months. It was absolutely nuts. But I'm not going to get into that case. So when we talk about an attorney helping us out, I mean, I think we forget the hours involved in it. Dan, and I'm not talking about you specifically, but the beginning of your career, tell everybody what you did. I mean, really, coming out with your law degree, you got into what?
Yeah, I was a consumer fraud class action attorney. That's primarily class action attorneys kind of have a not great reputation because it's like that's where you get those coupons in the mail saying you get $10 off your next oil change because there was this class action settlement and all that. But really, you got to ask yourself, are we okay with huge companies basically taking $50-$60 off of every client or every customer?
No, and really what I think is the reason for class action isn't necessarily to get everybody rich. No. It's to punish the company.
It's to stop it. Because otherwise, what is the incentive for companies to not do that kind of stuff?
There isn't one.
Right. Yeah, because individuals aren't going to sue them over $60.
But on that side of the ball game, I mean, you're out there going after these companies. I mean, how do you're representing sometimes what, thousands, tens of thousands, what?
I mean, usually, most classes are quite large. If it's a national company, they're going to have, thousands of people in them.
And the bottom line is what your job was. I mean, as one of the attorneys, I mean, basically you're just putting the whole thing together. I mean, all you're doing is working at a desk with paperwork for the most part.
Yeah, lots and lots of paperwork. You got to go through probably customer service records. So, if we had a case, give us all access to every customer service note you've ever made for the last 5 years. Well, as you can imagine, that is thousands and thousands of pages.
Thousands and thousands. It had to be boring, quite frankly. Quite frank.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why you got out of it. So, but how much time and money would go into it? So let's say, I don't know, take one of the medium-sized ones or one of the larger. How much did the firm basically invest in it? And I'm talking about advertising to the class. Yeah. I'm talking everything.
Oh, yeah.
It would be nothing to put $5 million in it?
Yeah, it could be millions. Yep, for sure.
Easily.
And before you even know, right? So I was just telling Dimitri, you've got to get that class certified, and that's not easy. You got to show, he used the term similarly situated. And defense attorneys just live off of showing how all these people did not suffer the same injury, right? It's very hard to do, actually.
And the reason they want to do that is then everybody needs a separate attorney and a separate court case.
Yeah, we can't have a class here. All these people got to be individually investigated.
Oh, my goodness. That sounds like just so much work, honestly. But you're right. There's nothing. And I'll say this. If any attorney that we deal with, and we have great attorneys in our referral list, but if any really kind of align with the show, really your background is quite incredible, because when you came out of law school, seriously, you wanted to go after these injustices. Yeah. You wanted to go after the bad guys. But, I mean, you start, after what you do that for, 10 years?
Yep.
And you just said, that's it, I'm done.
Yeah, it's being a litigator it's different. It's a pretty stressful life. So yeah, it's some people are really up for that kind of adrenaline and that kind of fighting every day. Wasn't really my.
Did you take a lot from that going into estate planning? Because you're one of the best out there.
You got it. I mean, yes. I mean, so we had a case that was not a class action. That was just a fight between a couple families that had a business together. That was a couple generations in, and it was not. It was one of the less pleasant cases I ever did because we had all the personal emotions involved on top of the business stuff. So,
is there a lot of times in estate planning, and I promise, Guillermo, I'm going to get back to you, John, and then Deputy Bo's got a comment on it. One line open, 303 Martino. We talk about family businesses, estate planning. I'm not going to say who, but we know somebody that basically owns automotive shops, and they have multiple locations, and it's all one family, but different ones run and own each location. It's kind of weird. I don't know how the stock breaks up or anything, but do you deal a lot with circumstances like that to where someone's either talking about key man insurance for the estate, or they're talking about literally, if I want to pass it down to my son, but my brother doesn't want to deal with my son for whatever reason, you kind of design the operating agreement.
Yeah.
I mean, is that like big time in your wheelhouse?
Yeah, you want to be thoughtful about that for sure. But closely held businesses are a real challenge.
Especially when you go into business with someone, I guess really it doesn't matter, family member or not.
Yeah.
It's a marriage.
Yep.
In fact, for lack of a better words, that's all marriage is.
Yeah.
I mean, you're entering into a business agreement.
Right.
I'm being serious.
Yeah.
So when people come to you, whether they're coming to you for a simple will, I liked how I saw that look from Suzanne. It's a business. So when people come to you and they sit down, I mean, generally what's happening? You're going to go, okay, why are you here? They're going to say, hey, we just had a baby, or we haven't updated our will forever. You kind of go over their needs while we're there.
Right.
And then I assume at that point, you kind of sit on it, you think of different suggestions, then you approach them with your ideas and have kind of a Q&A.
Yeah, I mean, we like to just tell you, here's your options. I mean, you talked about avoiding probate and does everybody need a trust earlier? And, I really don't take that position. We do a lot of plans that have no trust planning in them at all. It just comes down to your priorities. Do you care about avoiding court? Some people don't. Probate process, unlike litigation, where it's like, this is going to be a fight.
Yeah.
There's this is a fight. But probates, a lot of probates are not fights, right? So it's not necessarily critical that every single person avoid it.
I get you, but at that point, when you give them the different options,
right?
I mean, you're not going to be billing someone hourly to write the will. You already understand what they want.
Yeah.
You're going to say, hey, that's going to be this.
Yeah.
And you're going to tell them. Then if
Yep.
you want to go to the next step and do this, it's going to be that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not, I don't want to say a la carte, but in a way it is a la carte, or different options.
Correct. Yeah.
And then you give them a flat rate price.
Right.
Now, what wouldn't be a flat rate price?
So there is some stuff, usually on the funding side, and by that I mean, like, okay, you've got the estate plan, and now, like we've talked about, like, you could have an estate plan with all this beautiful trust planning in it, and then you've got your life insurance policy directed at a person, and maybe you didn't want that.
Yeah.
You wanted to go into the trust, right? And so you just got to make sure that the stuff on the way you've titled it, and the way you designate beneficiaries also is lines up with what you wrote down.
So I want to go back to the trust, because Suzanne and I have had one forever, but we have not moved everything into it. It really is kind of a pain. Do you do this for people? Not only can you set up the trust the way they want it set up, or tell them how it should be set up, however you want to look at it, but do you actually go the other step and offer, once again, a la carte, if you want me to move the house into the trust, I'll do that. If you want me to look at the operating documents for this particular business and get all of that in there, so that's moved into the trust, do you go to that level?
Yeah, I mean, when we set up trust, we usually put the house in there for them. We usually take care of that. We assign the personal property. We sign business interests into the trust. So
you do it all.
We don't do, I mean, so like your Schwab accounts, like you got to do that, right? I
well,
mean,
yeah, but once again, that's not going into the trust.
Why? Because they're IRAs?
It would be beneficiary, wouldn't it? Well, no, we've got, okay, I don't mind talking about it. We've got multiple accounts I call trading accounts.
Yeah.
Some of them I day trade, other ones long-term stuff. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But there's lots of assets and they just sit there and I do what I do with them.
I'd rather they be in the trust because, I mean, if they're not IRAs, they should be in the trust because the trust covers the incapacity events too, right?
Well, okay, I get that part, which we did do in the trust. I mean, we named our daughter. If we can't think for ourselves, basically, she's over our health and our financial.
Yeah.
But if we die, if they're the beneficiary, why would that go into a trust? Just like a bank account. Why would our personal bank account? I'm asking you.
It depends. Have you put any restrictions in place on how she can access that money?
We haven't.
Okay. So if you
we
haven't,
don't care
then,
at this point in both of our kids' lives.
Yeah.
They split the money. They can do whatever they want with it.
So probably not. You probably would name her as a beneficiary. But again, like she's using powers of attorney if you are incapacitated to get access to those funds.
Yeah.
I mean, those, sometimes you hit barriers with those.
Okay. So it's not the best way to do it, is basically what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay. And you don't know
why wouldn't you put it in there?
Well, okay. Why? And I asked that same question. Why wouldn't you put a checking account in there? I mean, it's kind of crazy to go out and rename our joint account, Major Trust 123, whatever it is. And now we're writing checks on Major Trust instead of Mark or Suzanne Major, when we could just name a beneficiary for the cash. Mm-hmm. So I don't see the difference between that and the trading accounts. That was just my logic.
Because in a checking account, as you mentioned earlier, a lot of times the banks will say, okay, we'll set up this trust account for you. It's going to be a different account. You're going to have a different account number, different debit card, different checks.
Yeah.
A little bit of a pain to get that set up, but then it's no different. But most people don't want to go through that pain because it's like, I got $10,000 in my checking account at any given time. It's not.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, that's the other part on the checking.
I mean, your Schwab accounts, I assume you're not pulling money in and out every day. Right, like a checking account. So I just feel like that is not quite as much of an issue with most people's brokerage accounts.
Okay. No, I appreciate that. That sounds like solid advice there. And Guillermo, I promise. Well, God dang, I'm way over. All right, Guillermo, I'm going to come back to you. John's got a question for Dan McKenzie. Real quick, John, just say it real quick so he can think about it. What is the question for John? Or I'm sorry, for Dan.
So my house isn't paid for. I'm nearly 70 years old. So if I die, I want to be sure that my daughter gets my equity in my house. Is that just a basic will?
All right, hold on. We're gonna like, nothing's basic these days. Hold tight. Maybe the hearing is over.
I think it is.
I don't know when they vote. And is it a full retirement planning center of the Rockies? Talk about retirement. We've been talking about estates and everything today, but these guys help you move from that working self to your retirement self. They can help you with different income strategies. Maybe some's in real estate. Maybe some is in that IRA with certain stocks to buy or bonds, different things. They're also going to talk about the tax ramifications you're going to deal with when you retire, when you have to pull money out of qualified plans. They're going to talk about the health care. How important is that? I mean, really, the health care aspect of it. Maybe you're retiring, but your spouse still has they still have great health benefits through their job. There's different things they can discuss with you. They can also help you optimize your Social Security benefits. We have had calls over the years where someone has lost their spouse and they didn't even realize they get Social Security benefits as a spouse because they didn't work their whole life. There's a lot of different things they can help you with, long-term care, even some estate planning. I want you to give these guys a call when you start thinking about retirement. And honestly, that should be right around 25 years old. 970-663-3211. They're great people. In fact, they teamed up with Martino on certain things. And they're just, it's a great group together. rpcenter.com. That's rpcenter.com. Now, let's talk about John Fuller. Fuller Law, one of my favorite attorneys out there. John has got us policy maximum on two different cases. One when Suzanne and I got sideswiped by this lady. She T-boned us. Every single airbag went out. The car was totaled. Suzanne had a broken nose. It was terrifying. and some back issues. He walked us through. He maximized the case. We got every nickel. About a year after that, our daughter was on I-25, and this person was following too close, ended up slamming into her, destroyed the car. She had a problem with her back. It was pretty serious at first, but thank God it's fine now. Same thing, though. John basically held her hand through it, brought her through the case. Policy limits, man, got every nickel out there. In fact, a friend of the show called me last night. His parents last night, I don't mind saying it, no one knows who this is, but ITED. If you listen to the show, ITED. First call he made, well, first call was to me, and he said, Mark, who should I do? My parents just got hit by this lady, and I know the insurance company she has, you guys talk about all the time. And sure enough, it's not the best insurance company out there, but they have the best representation now. They got John Fuller. Fuller Law. I'm going to give you his website, callfuller.com. Callfuller.com. Yeah, ITED's parents
I saw his Facebook post.
got nailed yesterday.
Yeah. I saw the pictures.
He said, what do I do? You could tell, it's so funny, you could hear the fear. His dad wouldn't go to the hospital. So his mom, listen to this, she has a broken neck bone.
Oh.
And a broken rib.
He must have got hit really hard.
And the dad was like kind of, I think he might have been out for a half second or something, but he refuses to go to the hospital.
Why?
I don't know.
Really bad.
Yeah. A broken neck bone.
Yeah. I don't want to move to the hospital.
And at their age, I'm assuming they're in their 70s.
Broken neck bone? I think that can lead to paralysis.
Well, they cut her from the ER, and she's in a big old neck brace. And a broken rib, but that at that age, something like that, well, Dan knows this more than anything. My grandmother was like, she was 90 years old. She was starting to lose her mind a little, some dementia. Ultimately, it got real bad, but right around 90, it was so-so. She fell in the tub. She was in assisted living, but she was in the first part where, like, you have your own apartment, basically, and they check on you once a day. Yeah. She sat in that tub for a day. So the water was cold. She was never the same after that. She didn't have any real physical injuries, but she was never the same, man. That happens quite a bit, some event like that, right, Dan?
Yeah.
She went downhill so fast from there. Yeah, but 90. I mean, that's the part that's the part I've always I'm like, okay, 90.
But look at your friend who's 95 and still sharp as a tack.
Tommy.
Even though he drinks like a fish.
Oh.
No, he doesn't drink like that anymore. He used to.
And it was all wine, for what it's worth.
No, he'd have a lot of tequila with me. You forget him and I, when he was working out here.
That's because you're a bad influence.
Well,
when he's not around you, I'm sure it's all wine.
I think my dad would argue with that as well.
Hey, babe, you got to finish up on those house spots.
Okay.
We're coming down to the last half. Wave 8, maybe?
Yeah.
Brian Burns is asking where he goes tomorrow. Should I tell him I'll tell him later, or tell him to come here? Or?
I haven't decided if I'm coming in tomorrow yet.
Okay.
If I'm doing it again, I might tell him we will let him know soon. This evening.
I think it'd be super fun to hear about some of the especially creative dirty lawyer tricks that you've seen or heard about.
Yeah. Let's think about it a little bit.
I'm sure you have a ton of stories.
I don't have a ton. Most lawyers are pretty, especially the ones at the bigger firms. I mean, they're really crazy.
I keep hearing about dirty lawyer tricks without having heard any really great examples.
Collection attorneys. Go sit in a ruthless collection office one day. You'll see all the dirty tricks.
Wealth K-House Studios. Trajan Wealth, your trusted local fiduciary advisors. TrajanWealth.com. Denver's talk station, 630 K-How.
All right, 303-713-8255, because we do have a guest in Guillermo. I promise I'm dying to hear that update, but I want to ask John real quick. John, what is your question for Dan McKenzie?
So if I don't live long enough to pay my home off, and I want my daughter to get my equity, which is it's around $700,000.
Wow.
So how do I assure that she is going to get that? What kind of will would I need?
And I want to add something to that, Dan. And the reason the interjection is this is very important. There's different ways to leave it, which I want you to talk about, but he's not bringing up tax consequences at all.
Right.
And that's a very important part of his question.
Yeah, because you do want to make sure that she inherits it at your death if possible. So hold on to that house because you probably have a lot of gain built up in it and you want to avoid that capital gains tax. But that was not your question. Your question is how does she get the equity? If she's the one who inherits it sounds like she's probably your only child. And that you are not married, so you could leave it directly to her through a will. You could record a beneficiary deed, transfer the house to her at your death. There's a couple different ways to do it, but whatever you do, she is going to receive it. The mortgage company will require her to refinance as soon as they find out that it's not owned by you anymore.
Or sell it.
Yeah, usually it gets sold. She will get the equity.
The one way I do not want you to do, and chime in, Dan, if you don't agree with me, would be a quit claim before you die.
Yeah, people do that a lot, and that does get rid of that capital gain step up, and then the person who receives the house potentially has to pay, 6 figures of capital gains tax they could have avoided.
Yeah, that's a big part, John. That is a massive part. We have so many people after the fact, and there's not a damn thing you can do. Dan, that basically they quit claimed it thinking, well, I want to give it to my daughter. I don't have any other kids or whatever. Yep. And before they die, they quit claim it. And then all of a sudden when they died, like you said, if they got $1 million in equity, they're dishing out $150,000. They didn't have to.
Yeah. We've seen people around here who bought their houses for $100,000 or less, and they're now $1 million, right? So,
John, you got any other questions?
No, that pretty much answers it.
Do you have a will set up? Do you have anything like that?
No, I don't. I don't have anything right now.
You should really call Dan. I mean, you're talking $700,000, to be quite honest. Okay, I'm going to say something. And there might be 2 rules of thought because I don't know how much money people's kids have, but I'm an only child. My parents live in Florida. I paid for all their stuff. I paid for their estate planning because ultimately all it does is benefit me and they're my parents. Yeah. So I don't know why in a case like John, someone that stands to inherit $700,000 of equity from the house wouldn't pay to make sure it's done right. I just don't know why. Do you see that a lot?
It certainly happens, and it is weird that is the weird part about estate planning is the people making the plan and the people receiving the benefits of the plan are not the same people. So, they might have a difference of opinion.
But you're still going to be dealing with the parents in most cases.
Yeah, you just got to be careful as the lawyer receiving money from somebody who isn't the client that they understand that.
Well, it's not even. So that's not even how I did it. My parents found somebody that they were comfortable with that my dad dealt with professionally in his life at one point, and they did the planning. I just paid the bill on it.
Yeah,
I mean that's more or less what I'm saying. Yeah. I see what you're saying though. That could get a little tricky if I called you up and said, my parents are fine. They live over here in Centennial, and I want you to draft all this up, and I'll have them sign it.
Yeah.
I mean, that could get a little weird. In fact, is that even legal for you?
To have what? Somebody else draft it?
Yeah, so no. So let's say I come to you and I say, here's what I want.
Yeah.
And I basically create their trust for me. And then I tell you I'm going to go out and get it signed.
They're going to have to execute it. They're going to have capacity and not be pressured. And, there's no undue influence. They know what they're signing. So that is the limitation on it. But yeah, as the attorney, if that situation came up, I'd be like, I got to meet your parents.
It is so, it's really anybody out there, any questions you have after the show. First of all, you can find Dan on our referral list. He's been in studio with us for years and years and years. But the phone number, 833-CO-PLANS. If you haven't had the will looked at, if you don't know if you need a trust, if you just had a baby, if your kids just turned over 18, there's so many reasons to go back and look at things. Did you know this? And once again, Dan, if I say this incorrect, but I'm basing this off calls. People forget to update the trust. And let's say Uncle Fred's on the trust and he gets 1/10 of whatever, and you don't update it when Uncle Fred dies. Uncle Fred's kids will end up getting that portion generally, and you might not have wanted Uncle Fred's kids to get that. Yeah. You might have wanted your other brothers to get it or whoever else that was still there. A lot of people don't even think of things like that. Right. Yep. Updating is very important. How often should people look at that? Just anytime there's either anytime something happens, that basically changes the trust.
Yeah, I think any addition or subtraction for the family, either through birth or death or marriage or divorce, those are key events.
I love that.
Significant change in assets, change in financial institutions, change in real estate. Those are good times to.
And really, the asset protection. If you're around my age and your folks are getting up there into their 80s, and let's say your folks have some wealth. And, you want to start thinking about that. You got to start thinking, okay, what happens if they need long-term care? You're talking, $15,000, $20,000 a month. You got to talk to an estate planner. You're crazy not to. And then Guillermo, I promise. And then Lisa's got a problem with Lowe's. And John, we just talked to. 303-713-TALK.
Mark did. So he can say it right.
That's how it should be said.
Spell.
If we named our kid Guillermo, I'd spell it just like that.
Guillermo.
Geeairmo. Gravina windows and siding, these guys can make your house look brand new. What I love about, Nick, who's basically at the helm now, he started, or his dad started Larry Gravina in 1972, and he was working for his dad. Now Nick took over, pretty recently, within the last 10 years, over 100,000 successful projects. Those are homes or businesses with brand new windows, beautiful siding, entry doors, which, by the way, they have one of the best lines. But the window part I want to concentrate on because it tells you a lot about the company. They have something for everybody. They have over 50 lines of windows. That's made up by 20 or over 20 different manufacturers. They have something for everybody. High quality, energy efficiency, beauty, and of course the value compared to some of the other companies. I want you to give them a call if you have any questions on windows. They don't come out and strong arm you. They're going to come out and give you great ideas. They're going to help you with design, help you with product, and go over what your needs are. Then they're going to give you an upfront, transparent bid on the project. 303-472-8462. 303-472-8462. Thinking of that, Suzanne, we got to get Nick in studio soon. I love having Nick Ravina in. In fact, he might not be, actually, I bet he is fun in a party, but I joke. I never met anybody that knows so much about windows. Honestly, he can go look at any window, any manufacturer, and pretty much tell you anything. You're dealing with a guy that loves doing what he's done with his family forever. GravinaWindows.com. Now, let's talk about Made in the Shade. There's a lot of ways to buy shades. You can go to Walmart and buy them if your window happens to be an exact measurement that they stock. Or you can go to one of these websites and go around your entire house, measure everything, put it in, pick it out yourself, pick out the color yourself, wait for it to be shipped, then install it yourself. You could do it that way. If you do, you're crazy. Or you can go to Made in the Shade, locally owned and operated right here by a wonderful Colorado couple. Many, many, many projects done, including Dragon Behind the Glass and Deputy Doc. A lot of people right here in the building use these guys. Are absolutely great, and a ton of listeners. You want that free estimate. They're going to come out. They're going to do all the measurements. They're going to talk to you about all the products. Maybe you want shades or room darkeners or beautiful wooden shutters or something high-tech, some kind of roller shade that you can run off an app on your phone or an automated awning. It doesn't matter if it's a fix and flip or a $10 million house. The guys at Made in the Shade have it all. Blind shade, shutters, drapes, and more. Made in the Shade. 720-458-6566. They'll do the measurement. They'll do the installation. Their warranty is unbelievable, and they do it for less than the other guys that make you do everything. 720-458-6566. Or if you hear me talking about them, you can find them at referralist.com. Oh, to me, the show's amazing. You go 45 minutes with one call, then you get 20 calls in 1 hour.
Right.
And I hate harassing you, but
I'll
you're not
do
doing
Wave
any
right
of those house spots
do
coming
Wave
back. You sure? You want me to yell it at you when the music comes in? Wave 8!
Hey, Mark, tell them about Wave 8.
Wave 8! Dimitri, I've been on a Pellegrino kick. Bought a whole case at Sam's Club.
Yeah.
Trying to have one every day.
Good call. It's, I used to get dehydrated all the time, and then I just started buying.
I drink so much water.
Yeah.
Because I love it so much.
Yeah.
I drink enough.
Yeah.
To keep from getting dehydrated. I have a very low thirst drive, so I would get a couple times a year I would get dangerously dehydrated.
Right. That's like me.
I could fall over kind of dangerous.
Really?
Did you get that too?
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't drink enough water. I mean, the doctor will say, you know, you're basically dehydrated all day long.
I drink a lot of water.
Yeah, I was beyond that. I would actually get lightheaded suddenly, and then it takes like a week to a week and a half to get over that.
I've been drinking so much in the evening, I'm waking up peeing, man, which drives me nuts.
Water.
Right.
Alcohol does that to me. If I have a few beers. Yeah. It is.
That's what you've been drinking, isn't it?
That's how it got brought up. I said, I bought a whole case of it at Sam's Club.
What do they get for it at Sam's Club?
It's fairly cheap
17.
For $24?
Thought it was $17.
How many bottles are there?
Sure,
It's
24.
I think it's 24. I had to double check it. Maybe I was 21.
Yeah, these are a buck.
I want to try Tom's daughter likes I'm not going to say it right, but you'll know. Topo Chico, that's a mineral as well.
Yeah.
She loves that.
Texas.
Yeah.
That's good stuff, too. That's got a really nice mineral flavor to it.
Yeah. And I like the carbonation. I gave up Diet Coke it's been 13 years now. I haven't had one. He harassed the hell
Cold
out of me.
turkey, man.
But I was having like 3
She'd
dinner.
She'd drink like 6 a day.
Yeah.
And that's when it started coming out that saccharin could be bad for
and he
you.
giving me enough hell that I
And I'd be
just
like,
gave it up. And
you
I
are
needed
drinking
something
way
crisp.
too much Diet Coke because I'm drinking a beer.
Diet Coke free.
The liver's made for beer. It's not made for that weird saccharin bullshit. It was football. I'm preferencing this for a reason. So her sister and husband were out at our house years ago, pre-COVID, and it was Sunday. They spent the night Saturday, came out from Kansas. God, that had to be almost 10 years ago. But they were out, spent the night. I'm watching the first game. You know, they're on at 11 o'clock. It's playoffs. And I crack a beer open. Okay? And her and her sister are sitting out back on the deck, and I go out there. She goes, oh, my God, I can't believe you're drinking a beer at 11:30. But wait. The good part isn't even here yet. You know what she was doing outside at 11:30? Smoking a joint.
What?
And a pack of Marlboros.
Oh, my God.
Visit one of Fitness Gallery's 7 convenient locations from Colorado Springs to Fort Collins. We have you covered.
All right, 303-713-8255. I've got to tell you about Wave 8. Look, Tom started this. This is one of those companies. Tom Martino. By the way, he's a very wealthy man. If you didn't know that, yes. And he hates when I say stuff like this. He goes, people don't want to. Yeah, they do. He flies a helicopter. You know how many people privately fly a helicopter in the state of Colorado? 2. Okay? So let's talk real world.
Who's the other one?
I have no idea. I have no clue. Dimitri, I really don't know. So he got sick and tired of paying what he refers to as a middleman. So he literally, years ago, right about towards the end of COVID, he started diving into this venture, and he started Wave 8. And what Wave 8 is, basically financial advisors, but it's in-house. Most financial advisors, ask yours. I don't care who it is right now. Ask your financial advisor. You know, do they place it, or do they take your money and then they go to somebody else, like a big company like Schwab, that's making all the decisions? All you're doing is paying the middleman with most financial advisors. And Tom got pretty sick and tired of paying that middleman fee. He's like, look, I have worked my whole life for this money. I developed a career over 50 years. And the bottom line is this. I don't want to pay a middleman. Why do that? No one should have to do that. So we started Wave 8. And you can call him up. You can talk to him. Your money is going to be with Tom's money. Anytime you want to talk about your investment, you can talk to Tom about it. You can talk to his entire firm down there about it. They'll update you every month on what's going on with your money if you want. They are literally changing the way people invest. It's direct investment management, customized to you for every client. No one's the same. You might not be, because of your age or your financial situation, you might not be right for certain investments. They're going to talk to you about it, and they're going to talk to you all the time on it. They're committed to doing that, and it's an incredible company. I mean, it really is. Here's the phone number. I love it. 303-771-HELP. 303-771-HELP. 303-771-HELP, or visit the website. You can learn more right there, but investwithmartino.com. You know, we spent over a year getting all his financial licensing. I mean, when Tom puts his mind to it, by this time, if you've been a fan of the show or been following Tom for 45 years in Colorado, you know who he is. You know it. The man's going to take care of your money better than anybody else out there. All right. I said my piece with that, and I mean it. I mean every word of that. I have personally known Tom coming on 30 years. I do want to finish up with Guillermo. Notice how I had to look at my phonetical spelling to get it right. But Guillermo, here's the bottom line. This roofer came out. He took $5,000 from you. He's only paid $500 back. You called a while back. You've got a court case coming up. I assume it's small claims, right?
Correct. Yes.
Do you have the paperwork? Do you have the 248 and do you have the 250, the PDF 248 and 250?
Bottom says 250, JDF 250.
248's the instructions. What questions? What specific questions do you have?
Well, I guess one of the first one, it says, in one of them it says, where is it? J of the JDF document 250, it says, judicial officer, a magistrate or judge may hear your case. I thought a judge was going to hear the case overall. Well, so do I have to do that?
Well, it doesn't matter. I mean, generally, most counties, Denver, ironically, is not one, but most, including Douglas County, Arapahoe, you generally have to go to mediation first. But if he doesn't show up, none of that's going to matter. And if you don't agree to what he says, let's say he does show up for mediation and he goes, well, I'll pay him $500 a month. You're going to look at the mediator and said he already agreed to that 6 months ago when he hasn't done it, so I don't agree to it. So you'll get to choose whether you're going to go in front of a judge. A magistrate's not going to matter. In fact, I'm going to ask Dan McKenzie, attorney at law. I mean, a magistrate is a judge, but there must be a difference. Literally, what is the difference? Yeah. Is it time on the bench?
No. I mean, a magistrate is employed by they're not really an official judge. They are employed by the judiciary to help alleviate the caseload of the judges. You have to consent to using them, or if it is assigned to a magistrate, you can ask that it be assigned back to a judge. But a lot of magistrates are great, and yeah, it's no, we got some magistrates who are great and some judges who aren't.
Yeah, exactly. So really it doesn't matter. But with small claims on that form, they're basically telling you if you go the route of small claims, you're agreeing right now it could be a magistrate.
Right.
So I highly doubt they're going to let you change it. But I have no idea why you would.
Guillermo, is that magistrate judge's name Garland?
See, the thing is that, okay, so I went in there, I went to the Adams County Justice Center, submitted all the paperwork. They gave me this document that said for me to review. And one of I think it's like the instructions, but it's a different name, but it's just information for plaintiffs in small claims court.
Yeah.
And it says on J, well, it's ABC, B, whatever through J, and then it just threw me off on that part. I just thought, I guess, overall, we're just going to be in mediation when I go on January 31st, if it even goes. Right?
Yeah, mediation is generally first. Just go up. I don't think he's going to show up. And then basically you'll go in front of a judge. In fact, if he doesn't show up, you should ask the mediator if the judge is there, if she can or he can go in and basically just get the judgment right then and there if they don't show up. But then the hard part comes. I got to put you on hold because I'm running. Give him my email, Kelly. Give Guillermo my email, because getting the judgment when someone doesn't show up, and that happens all the time, that's the easy part. Then, believe it or not, you're going to have to start all over again. And what I mean by that is now you got to go serve them with interrogatories. And you got to track him down, and then you got to serve him again. And then when he doesn't fill them out within 15 or 30 days, whatever the time period is, then guess what you got to do? Then you got to go back in front of that judge, and you got to tell the judge to hold him in contempt because he had a certain amount of time to fill out the interrogatories. Then, guess what? You start all over again. Then you take that contempt order and go serve him, and then you bring it back to the judge. That's the good part. Once you go through all that, most likely he's going to have a bench warrant out for him for $4,500. So if he gets picked up speeding or robbing a liquor store or gets arrested at all, he's going to sit into the can. He's going to sit in the can until you pay it. That's just the way it works. I got to take this.
Now.
We're about over, so no thanks.
Really, the hoops, when you're suing somebody that's not a big corporation, I mean, the hoops you got to jump through, people have no idea in small claims. They think you go in there, you win, and the guy writes you a check. Yeah. You're lucky if the guy shows up.
Yeah, I was helping a caller yesterday fill out the small claims paperwork.
Yeah.
To try and sue this contractor.
Just remember, you can help them logistically, but never give legal advice.
No.
Yeah,
I was helping him fill out.
I just reemphasize that whenever I hear someone saying I helped somebody like that.
A year ago, I had 2 cases in that court, the small claims court. One guy didn't pay, went through.
Joseph A. Lazara, here's a criminal defense attorney. Hope you never need him, but the bottom line is, if you have been ticketed or cited or arrested for a DUI or shoplifting or assault, you need the best representation. Joe doesn't, and he's not going to break the bank either. In fact, stuff like DUI and simpler stuff, and I hate to put it that way because it's all complex, but on certain items he has flat rate pricing he can discuss with you and different payment plans, but you need the good representation. If you think you're going to get the best deal for yourself against a DA, that DA wants all the notches he can get on his belt. They do. It's simple as that. That's what they're there for. You need someone that knows these people, knows the judges, respects them, and someone that they all respect him. That's Joseph A. Lazara. I'm going to get him in studio. He's been coming in for years and years, but it's the phone number I want to give you that's important. If you do get in trouble, you do get arrested, you're going to want to know who to call. You're not going to want to Google it. You're going to want to simply call Joe. Here's the phone number, 303-429-6200. If you're facing something right now, he'll give you free advice over the phone, a free consultation. 303-429-6200. 303-429-6200. Joseph A. Lazara. I'm basically going to finish up, Dan, with you. I mean, I hate to call it any specials, but what would you like to cover in the last 2 minutes when I pound that phone number for you? I mean, anything any particular things that we do for you that work better as far as talking about wills or trust or probate? I mean, just all the above.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then I went through that whole process that Mark just described.
Yeah.
And the judge issued a bench warrant for the operations manager of the company that sued and set a cash-only bond in the amount of the judgment.
Yep.
And that got their attention. So they sent me a check for that, plus I charged them about almost $900 more for my other costs,
Right.
and mileage and coffee and everything.
I got picked up on one.
What?
Yep. So I had an employee. I had 50 employees at the time. I owned Aspen Goodyear, Colorado Car Care Centers. I had one employee, John Ryan. He was a assistant manager at my store at Kipling and Jewel. No, not Kipling and Jewel, Crestline. All right, no, this was way before that.
Okay.
So he somehow had a fire in his apartment. I know nothing about any of this. And the apartment complex got a judgment, and they sent me as the employer, or my people, a garnishment.
Yep.
He came to me on the first garnishment and said, I paid it. 100%, it's all paid. You don't have to take it out of my check. Like a dumbass, I didn't pull it out of his check. Meantime, unbeknownst to me, I should have showed up in court and missed something that had to do with them. And because, once again, because I thought it was done and paid for, but I did have a court date coming up as the employer that didn't take it out of the garnishment. He once again assured me it was all paid. I was a dumbass. I got pulled over for speeding in Littleton, and that's where this was. They arrested me on the bond for $1,200. So I paid the $1,200, but listen, I went in front of the judge. I paid it. I was out real quick. They wanted the $1,200. I argued to the judge. I said I paid it. They wanted the $1,200 to go directly to the collection company for him. I said, first of all, I paid that, Your Honor. I'm Marc Mager. I'm not Colorado Car Care Centers. Colorado Car Care Centers, I didn't show up for court. That's my bad. So that's fine. But to take my $1,200 and apply it to his debt or Colorado Car Care's debt is bullshit.
Personal money, not your...
That's right. So they did not pay him. So even though I ended up going to the can for a few hours, they didn't end up getting their money. I ended up getting my money back. But then I ended up garnishing them.
Dude, most people would never have thought of making that argument. Congratulations.
Well, that I couldn't believe. I wanted to kill that idiot. You know, eventually that guy, he worked for me after that another 4 or 5 years. He got on meth years later. He got on meth. He was my store manager at Peoria. I fired him. I offered to pay for rehab, everything. He told me he went to rehab. I paid somebody something. He came back within a week, same problems. I fired him. About 8-9 months go by. Haven't heard from him, know nothing about him. Turn on Fox News, local Fox 31. He was living with his dad, elder man.
Centennial here.
Yep, right here in Centennial. Wanted to get the house, I guess. His dad came home. He shot his dad in the face and took off and staged it like it was a break and entry robbery, okay? The problem was the father lived, called 911, told him what happened. Yeah. The cops came out and hid around the neighborhood because the father heard John talking to the girlfriend saying what the whole plan was. They knew he was going to come back, call 911 and go, someone broke in and killed my dad. But of course, he didn't know the cops were there and they got him.
Can't make this stuff up.
That is crazy.
This guy survived a gunshot wound
to the face.
John went to prison. We don't know if he got out or not. It's been years.
Because it wouldn't be murder at that point. It's attempted murder. But it's been, 10 years? More than 10 years, actually.
It's been more than 10, like 12, 13.
2 are dead. 1 maniac is in custody. How did this happen during very busy times on 16th Street Mall in Denver? We'll review press conference statements from Mayor Mike Johnston and Police Chief Ron Thomas starting at 2 on 630 KHOW.
All right, Dan McKenzie, first of all, I want to thank you for being in studio with us. I love when we have attorneys in. Some of my favorite guests to have. I mean, I love all of our referral list members, but really any estate planning needs out there, folks, do not forget Dan. Give him a call. We all talk to him all the time. He's on the show all the time. He's one of our experts. It's just a great guy. I mean, he'll talk to you over the phone about your needs. You can set up an appointment. Maybe you're thinking of doing probate yourself. Maybe you're thinking of updating a will. Maybe you're thinking, do I need a trust? Well, for that matter, do I need a will? I mean, really, Dan, we've talked about everything today, but the bottom line is any questions you have on estate planning. Maybe you want to try to make that money to where, Medicaid can't come after it. Talk to Dan. 833-CO-PLANS. 833-CO-PLANS. TheMackenzieLawFirm.com. I'm going to say that number again. It's very important. 833-CO-PLANS. Dan, I appreciate you coming in, man.
Thanks for having me.
All right, folks, we'll see you tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel.
Follow Tom Martino at Real Tom Martino and stay connected with all of us at 630 KHOW, KHOW.com, and on the iHeartRadio app. This is Denver's talk station, 630 KHOW.
A wave of new wealth awaits you with honest answers on how to make real estate investments the smart way, fully managed, safe, and secure. Find out more on the Vestera Turnkey Show, Saturday mornings at 8 on Talk Radio 630 KHOW.
Dan Cicchini here. If you're going to do it right or don't bother. If our Done Right family can help your family, call us. Kitchens, baths, counters, and floors, and even replacement windows and doors, you have our word for future right at Done Right. 800-362-8370 or drhi.com.
Getting your house ready to sell? Rely on the experience of Frank Duran, the realestateman.com.
Does your home need repairs prior to selling? I have the experience and great local connections to help you determine which items are cost effective. We will detail which simple, easy steps you can make to enhance your home's appeal. I'm with you every step of the way.
I'm consumer advocate Tom Martino, urging you to use Frank Duran, the realestateman.com with RE/MAX Alliance, 303-920-1622.
Standing up for what's right, helping out when things go wrong, seeking the truth and speaking our minds, not just making records, but breaking them. Leading the way behind the camera, beyond the runway, and on the silver screen. Not just making our mark, but making a difference. Now that's a job for a Girl Scout. Girl Scouts, preparing girls for a lifetime of leadership.
KRFX HD2 Denver.
KHOW Denver, an iHeartRadio station. Listen on the free iHeartRadio app for all your music, radio, and podcasts. Free. Never sounded so good.
ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. While erratic winds keep up again in Southern California, lawmakers are debating federal aid for residents and business owners who have lost everything. House Speaker Mike Johnson says wildfire victims deserve federal help, but earlier this week also signaled there could be conditions set for aid. House Democratic Caucus Vice Chair Ted Lieu says his state is like any other devastated